To me, early in the football game, that's the key. If they cannot run the football, they'll shut them down. I'm talking about the Eagles. The Falcons have to be able to run.
Michael Vick having a Michael Jordan type of effect on this squad today. And also, for those of you who are interested, Pittsburgh and Tennessee all tied up. The battle of field goal kickers right now. Jeff Reed hit a 40-yarder. Then Joe Nedley hit a 42-yarder. All tied at 31. With, as you see right now, under 4 minutes to play in that contest. We will keep you on top of what's taking place there. All right, folks, we talked about the Falcons side of the ball. Now, coming up, we'll check out the Eagles. The Philly Fanatics are getting fired up, and their quarterback, Donovan McNabb, will return after missing, as Jimmy Johnson said, 2 months. You know what? That's all good for Andy Reid.
Hey, I'd be foolish to say that you don't miss the potential MVP of the National Football League. It's great to have him back, but the guys rallied and just kept being themselves is really what they did. And Donovan was the biggest advocate of this as a team, and we were able to keep moving.
And if Donovan McNabb does not finish the game tonight, second stringer Coy Detmer is ready to go. And welcome back to this Fox Primetime special as we get you set for the game coming up in just a bit. The Eagles defense deserves some props for leading the league in sacks this season and, more importantly, keeping Philadelphia in front in the NFC down the stretch. But tonight, under the stars, their biggest star returns. McNabb is back.
McNabb is hurt on the play, and this looks bad.
We're not going to miss a beat. Whoever may step in is going to open up some eyes, and I think the offense is going to continue on.
Prophetic words from the unquestioned leader of the Philadelphia Eagles, Donovan McNabb. Now, nearly 8 weeks after breaking his ankle, McNabb will start tonight's playoff game. But are the Eagles making the right calls?
If you're a starter and you're hurt and you come back healthy, hey, you go play. Logically, we're to that point, and Donovan goes in. He'll do a heck of a job.
From the time that you've been looking at Donovan in practice, what did he have to show you to convince you he's ready to go back at it?
Well, there are a few things. Obviously, the leg, and make sure that he can get rid of the limp and go play, and that the leg had healed. We've done umpteen x-rays of it, and the doctors have looked at it back and forth. He's got a couple doctors looking at it. And then you add just the fact of getting yourself back into game shape.
What did he show you? Does he have the mobility?
He does. He's moving around well. Yeah, there's no gimp. He's throwing the ball well. You always look to see if he's bending his knees and planting off of the back leg, which was the hurt one, and he's doing all those things.
He's throwing the ball well, and I think his arm's rested for 8 weeks now, so he's throwing even a little bit harder than he was before, and he's looking fast out there as ever and just looking real good.
JT, no rustiness at all?
Nah, he looks good out there, man, and I'm not saying that just because he's sitting there.
Y'all didn't tell me that. Donovan. So since Coach wouldn't tell me, James Thrash wouldn't tell me, you tell me, how rusty were you in the early going?
You know what? I don't think it was all about the rust. It was just, matter of fact, just getting out there at the practice field and just calming down. You know, as far as how I feel right now, I feel great. Just getting back out there and being able to do some of the same things that I did before I got hurt. Feel a little lighter. Obviously, I've been relaxing a little bit. But more importantly, I'm able to put the pressure on the foot and get back and sit back on it.
What did you learn in that uncomfortable position of being on the sidelines and watching how the team rallied?
People probably would say, you know, I think Donovan's pretty much frustrated right now. It's bothering him that he's not in there. I look at it as a learning experience, you know, something to sit back and learn from. So when my opportunity is there again, then I'll be that much better.
Now, you heard Ray Buchanan on our air.
We'd probably rather see McNabb because he's not as mobile right now. I think if we go against McNabb, I think we have a better chance.
Will there be a surprise for Buchanan and company?
If that's what they need to, you know, pump themselves up or, you know, feel a little good about things, you know, then continue to tell yourself that.
So, Big Boy, put it all together. What do you think in terms of the keys, not only to this game, but also McNabb's return?
Well, I think for both of these quarterbacks, Donovan McNabb, people forget, Donovan McNabb is a 245 to 250-pound quarterback. I think they go max protection. I think they run some screens. They run some draws. Ellis Johnson is out at defensive tackle. I think they run the football. I think they go max protection. I think for Atlanta, Michael Vick gets it done on his own. 103 sacks between these two football teams. Both Jim Johnson and Wade Phillips love to blitz the quarterback. Which quarterback is standing in the fourth quarter is probably the key.
You know what? You know, Howie, I'm sitting here thinking about this game. And
you got T-Biddy.
T-Biddy, I love that. But I'm wondering, Todd Pinkston, the wide receiver for the Eagles, turf toe, not playing real well. James Thraft, only 3 catches in the last 4 games, which leads me to think they got to run the football, probably get their tight end involved, and with McNabb back in there, I'm thinking they're probably going to have to throw more screens and feel things out. I'm not sold on the receiving core of either one of these two football teams. I really think it's running the football.
And Terry, this is the 3rd week in a row that Atlanta has been on the road. You know, that makes it difficult. But, you know, talking to coaches this week that have played both teams, they said Atlanta's got a chance if they'll have 3-step drop with Vic, maximum protection, protect him early. Because what Philadelphia likes to do, they like to bring the house and blitz. They said, well, if Philadelphia if they don't blitz him and get him early, they'll back off into the coverage to where he'll be able to go ahead and go the 5-step and the 7-step drops and put the ball down the field. Having said all that, I got another little point.
I want to hear it.
The team playing the common opponents.
Oh, Jimmy, that's
common
no
opponents.
good. I hate that. That's no
Philadelphia's 4-1. Atlanta's 1-4.
But they're playing one another. Who cares?
Brian Mitchell could be a difference maker in this football game.
How about the 3-4 defense? In Philadelphia, this is only second time they've seen it all year. Common opponents.
Matter of fact, since Terry has brought up a sage point like the 3-4 defense that Philadelphia will be facing,
spices on this?
We'll examine that a bit more as we step aside and let you know also that we'll come back with some final thoughts. We'll talk about the 34 defense. We're more than glad to do that. Back with more in a moment. And in that ball game between the Titans and the Steelers, all tied at 31, 1 minute and 43 seconds left in that contest. Tennessee has the ball now at its own 20-yard line, and that is the situation as it stands right now. Now, Terry Bradshaw mentioned that Philadelphia will be facing the 34 defense of the Atlanta Falcons, the challenges that poses for Donovan McNabb.
Well, JB, if McNabb ever needed mobility, it's tonight, because the 34 defense allows so many different blitzes and so many different looks. You never know which linebacker's coming to get a 4-man rush. Occasionally they'll bring a 5-man rush and play man-to-man underneath with a free safety. They can give you a lot of different variations, more variations than what you'd see with a 4-3 defense, because you got an extra linebacker.
Well, I'll tell you what, Jim Johnson brings a lot of variations for both of these centers. Todd McClure and Hank Fraley. The key is not usually physical versus blitzing teams like this. It's mental. You make a mistake, someone comes free. Good stuff. Scott Atkinson told us to rap, and that's all Terry got out to you was, up. Next, Michael Vick, Donovan McNabb, Falcons and Eagles. Enjoy the game.
The city of brotherly love, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, on a frosty Saturday night in January. And Veterans Stadium, sold out and revved up, is the scene for this NFC divisional battle between the Philadelphia Eagles, possessors of the home field advantage throughout these NFC playoffs, against the upstart Atlanta Falcons, who now must assume the Cinderella mantle coming into this game. And welcome, everyone. We have a great scene here tonight. I'm Dick Stockton, along with Darryl Johnston and Ron Pitts. The story of this game, the quarterbacks, Mike Vick of the Atlanta Falcons and Donovan McNabb of the Philadelphia Eagles. McNabb has not played in 8 weeks after fracturing his right leg against the Arizona Cardinals. Returns to action in the cold of Philadelphia. And Wade Phillips, one of the top defensive coordinators, trying to find the answer. What is his approach against McNabb tonight, Darryl?
Well, he is not going to wait around to see how Donovan McNabb is feeling. He is going to come after him right from the start of this football game with pressure. He wants to see how mobile Donovan McNabb is in the pocket. And when they do pressure him, they're going to force him out the back. They don't want Donovan McNabb to stack up and be able to move to his right or left to throw the football. They used this same approach against the New Orleans Saints when they played against Aaron Brooks. Had a lot of success with it. They won both those games this season against the Saints.
And the Eagles went 5-1 without McNabb down the stretch, but they were so happy that he returns to the team this week. He really excited the entire club as you see the Philadelphia Eagles getting set to be introduced in the tunnel, and a roar will go up from this capacity crowd of 60,000. Ever since Donovan McNabb got hurt, the Eagles have been introduced as an entire team, not individually. Now let's talk about the other side. Darryl, and what Mike Vick did against the Green Bay Packers opened the eyes of Jim Johnson, the Eagles defensive coordinator. And Jim Johnson really has a problem with Mike Vick. He said he is easily the quickest player he's ever seen in the game.
And he watched 17 tapes to find out that information. He went back and watched every Atlanta Falcons football game this year. And what he has decided to do is get the fastest defensive group he can on the football field. Now what that means is we'll see a little bit more of N.D. Kalu tonight in place of Hugh Douglas. We'll see Barry Gardner in place of Levon Kirkland. You cannot stop Michael Vick with one guy or one group. He's challenging his defense to get all 11 guys to the football. And he sets some benchmarks for this group. If they can limit Mike Vick to 120 yards passing and 34 yards rushing, he really feels that they will win the football game this evening.
Darryl, which team shoulders the most pressure in this game?
But without a doubt, the Philadelphia Eagles, they have taken gradual steps over the past few seasons. Anything less than a Super Bowl appearance for the Philadelphia Eagles will mean a disappointing year.
All right, so the stage is set. It'll be the Falcons and the Eagles, and the winner will move one step closer to Super Bowl 37.
Welcome back to Philadelphia. Ron Pitts on the sidelines here on a very cold and windy night, about 27 degrees. It feels a lot colder. Don't tell any of that, though, to the Atlanta Falcons. They come in here very, very confident, like the guys talked about in the open and in the pregame show. Now, I talked to a couple of the players. They say they have no pressure. They're loose. Why? Because they went to Green Bay last week and made history. They beat Brett Favre in Green Bay in the playoffs. They say now, hey, it's all about business, baby. Just come up here and dispatch the Philadelphia Eagles. The one concern they do have, though, is this field. Now, this new synthetic turf field, not like the new ones you see around the league. For whatever reason, this stuff is extremely hard and very, very slick. A lot of guys fell down in pregame warm-up. Dan Reeves, he brought his team out here at 1:30 p.m. He brought the practice squad guys out, and he said, run around, cut, turn, do everything you can. I want to see what shoe works best. Even Michael Vick, as of this morning, didn't know what shoe to go with. Well, here it is. It's called the Nike Destroyer. It's the old rain shoe moose that we used to wear on this stuff, and it's got the extra studs. It should dig in quite well. That's it from down here. Dick Stockton, Moose Johnson. Let's go back up to you guys for kickoff.
All right, Ron, thank you very much. And talk about making history. The Atlanta Falcons have another goal. No sixth seed has ever defeated a number one seed in postseason history, and the Falcons can achieve that tonight. And there is Dan Reeves, who knows playoff success. With 11 playoff victories, no active coach has won more. But as you look at the Philadelphia Eagles sideline, and Andy Reid, who has already received the first of what should be many Coach of the Year accolades.
And usually don't see that honor given to a coach who's had a great season followed up by another outstanding year. But what he accomplished during the course of this football season without Donovan McNabb, his heart and soul of this football team, you got to give a lot of credit to Andy Reid for keeping this group together, getting them into this position that they're at this evening.
The Falcons will get the ball first, and the wind blowing the ball off the tee for David Akers. And there is Allen Rawson, who, of course, was a member of the Philadelphia Eagles and was replaced by Brian Mitchell when Mitchell came over from the Washington Redskins. So Rossum is back deep, as both teams have outstanding return men and superb kickers. And the smoke from the fireworks just clearing the field as Akers gets this game underway. And Rossum from the 2-yard line returning for Atlanta. Turning the corner and a terrific return down the sidelines. And Allen Rossum knocked out of bounds in Philadelphia territory. And a flag is down at midfield. Mike Carey, the referee tonight.
During the return, holding by the receiving team, number 47.
Holding on the return. That was a 47-yard return by Allen Rossum. But the Falcons will not start in Eagle territory.
The Falcons get off to a great start on the road in a hostile environment with an outstanding return. The fortunate thing, this penalty is marked from the spot of the foul. It was late in the return, so it hasn't put them in terrible field position. You see right there, Kevin McAdam, number 47, gets an armful of Damian Douglas.
And that's where the penalty was marked. And so Mike Vick will start from the 39-yard line. First down with 3 wide receivers. And Vick looking downfield, looking to throw. And the first pass is caught at the 42-yard line by Algie Crumpler. And Crumpler could be filling a role similar to what Jeremy Shockey does with the Giants. As you look at the Falcons' underrated offensive line, veteran Bob Whitfield, Travis Claridge, Todd McClure, Keenan Forney, and Todd Weiner. Warwick Dunn, whose game has improved as the season went on. The former Eagle Brian Finneran. Crumpler, who caught that first pass for 24 yards, and Mike Vick at 22 plus, the youngest to win a playoff game since the merger. First down for the Falcons on the 37-yard line, and here is Warwick Dunn going outside and cutting upfield to the 31, picking up 5, where Troy Vincent comes up to make the tackle, and another penalty flag down.
You saw in that first play, one of the things that Philadelphia wants to guard against is allowing Mike Vick to move to his left. He does it on the first play. It has to be very frustrating for Jim Johnson to go in, knowing that he can't allow that to happen. The first play out of the gate, they get a big pass downfield to Algie Crumpler. And here's a situation that nobody's really talked about a lot this week. Philadelphia gave up a lot of yards on the ground to the Giants in the finale, and the Atlanta Falcons ran the football very effectively last week against the Green Bay Packers. The run defense of the Philadelphia Eagles will have to play well tonight because they don't want to let that ground game get on track.
Here is the penalty call. It'll go against Atlanta.
Personal foul, unnecessary roughness. Offense, number 84.
Unnecessary roughness, the personal foul. Roughness, the personal foul. And we did not hear Mike Carey's microphone explaining who the guilty party was, and there it is. And being thrown down was Sean Jefferson. So the wide receiver, Sean Jefferson. So once again, the small gain is nullified, and the Falcons are back to the 47-yard line.
Well, last week against the Green Bay Packers, the Atlanta Falcons played a near-perfect game, not turning the ball over, very few penalties. They start off the season in a very difficult place to play and have already started to hurt themselves with careless mistakes.
5-yard penalty. And it is first down and 20, and here is Warwick Dunn up the middle, and Dunn getting to the 40-yard line, bringing up 3rd and long, and it was Corey Simon making the tackle. As you look at the Philadelphia Eagles defense, second fewest points allowed in the league, and good pass rushers across the board, and Douglas Walker, Simon, and Brandon Whiting. Levon Kirkland starting in the middle of linebacker, but we may see Barry Gardner Blaine Bishop returns at strong safety after the groin injury, and the other three in the secondary headed for the Pro Bowl. Clearly the strongest aspect of this Philadelphia defense. Third down and 13, and Sean Jefferson in motion. And Vick has time in the pocket and throwing the ball out of bounds. Intended for Jefferson, and quickly let's send it to Los Angeles. James Brown for a game break.
Back to Dick Stockton.
All right, JB, and the Tennessee Titans defeated these Philadelphia Eagles in the opening game in Tennessee, and on fourth down, Chris Moore punting, and the Falcons are going to down it inside the 5-yard line, and it was Derek Rackley, the long snapper, alertly making the play. Eagles get the ball for the first time when we come back. Come back, how about the 3-yard line for his first possession with the wind chill of 20 degrees, and they line up with the 4 wide receivers and the quick toss to Deuce Staley, and Staley finds himself knocked back and goes out of bounds after no gain on the play, and we have a Falcon shaken up. Keon Carpenter, the free safety, is shaken up on the first play from scrimmage by the Eagles.
Wow, what a hit Keon Carpenter put on Deuce Staley. He stays down on the field. He knocked Deuce Staley back 2 yards into the end zone.
Staley was fortunate we didn't have a safety on this play.
Oh, quick little pass. Look at that right there. You can see him go down immediately, helmet to helmet. Deuce Staley looks like he's a little dinged too. Watch Keon Carpenter come up right here. Wow, what a big hit, but you can see him go down. The arms drop. Deuce Staley.
And if he steps out of bounds in the end zone, that would be a safety.
Well, look at him staggering. I don't think he's all the way back at that point either. Wow, that is a big collision right there.
Keon Carpenter, who last week had 2 interceptions and a fumble recovery in the victory over the Green Bay Packers. Staley appears to be all right, but not so for Keon Carpenter. We'll be back. Back here at Veterans Stadium, early in the game, we've had a flurry of penalties, and still sitting on the turf is Keon Carpenter, who had a tremendous collision with Deuce Staley, who was knocked back into the end zone, and we'll take another look at that play.
They empty the backfield. Donovan McNabb's going to stand up, throw a quick pass out to the outside to Deuce Staley, and just a huge collision with Keon Carpenter and Deuce Staley. You can see right there that he's still down on the field at that point. There he is up on his feet.
Keon Carpenter, one of the several ex-Buffalo Bills on this Atlanta Falcon team, where Wade Wilson was the defensive coordinator in Buffalo, and very close to stepping on the line, but the forward progress was outside of the end zone, so that would not be a safety because he did get out of the end zone.
Yeah, and you can see the official right there. He is in a perfect spot. Look at him look down to check Deuce Staley's feet as he comes out of the end zone, and you could tell by the way Deuce was running that he was affected by that hit by Keon Carpenter also.
Scary, though, watching number 29 not moving on the field while Staley was knocked out of bounds. So John Dale Carty will replace Keon Carpenter, the free safety, and he is barely walking on his own power and will leave the game. Meanwhile, Mike Vick walking the sidelines and waiting for his second opportunity at the helm.
Been a strange start to this football game. The Atlanta Falcons open up with a great kickoff return, and then they have critical penalties on that opening drive. They pin Philadelphia back, and now we've got this injury situation. You see right here where he comes up, and you can see his arms drop. It looks as though Keon Carpenter was out on his feet. And look at Deuce Staley as he comes out of the end zone. I mean, you can tell that he's not 100% as he tries to gather himself to make sure that he gets that ball out of the end zone.
Now, Deuce Staley remains in the Philadelphia Eagle huddle, and Michael Vick reaction when Keon Carpenter stepped into the cart.
Well, I tell you what, that's one thing that you don't like to see, regardless of what team it happens to, but you never want to see somebody who's out on the football field being taken off the field on the cart.
And the challenge has been made by Dan Reeves here, because he is claiming that before the forward progress was made that Deuce Staley, he felt, stepped out of bounds, which would necessitate a safety. So an early challenge here, less than 3 minutes into the first quarter.
You saw the replay with the official standing right there in perfect position to make that call. He did not make the call that he was out of bounds at that point. Mike Carey discussing with Dan Reeves now some of the options to see what he would like to challenge. When the pass is complete, I think Deuce Staley, his forward progress was when he caught the football. He was knocked back into the end zone. And we saw the official in perfect position as Deuce Staley brought the ball out of the end zone.
So he was out of the end zone before he went back in to possibly step out of bounds.
Look at the perfect position by the official right there by the pylon. Now that's forward progress right there on the hit by Keon Carpenter. He knocks Deuce Staley a yard back into the end zone. There's the question right there. Deuce Staley's foot on the sideline.
Legal advance out into the field of play. Atlanta is not challenging because if he had stepped out of bounds in the end zone, his forward progress was stopped in the field of play and there had been no advantage in the game. Second down.
So an intelligent discussion ensued. It might have taken a few minutes, gotten a few people a little colder, but no challenge by Dan Reeves. And now the Eagles will have the ball still on the 3-yard line after no gain, and 2nd and 10 coming up. Deuce Staley, the tailback, and play action, and McNabb trying to run around, getting chased, and his first running effort of the game, and McNabb down the sidelines and going out of bounds at the 22-yard line, picking up 19 and a first down. So McNabb may have passed his first test.
He sure has. This is what they wanted to find out. You can see Gerald McBurrows, number 22, and Chris Draft coming on the blitz. They allowed Donovan McNabb out to the right. Well, you wanted to find out if he can run? He can run.
A 19-yard gain, and this is what Wade Phillips wanted to do, put pressure on McNabb and drive him out of the pocket. And he did, and the Eagles with a first down on the 22-yard line. Deuce Staley with the carry, with a big year, both as a receiver and a rusher, going over 1,000 yards, picking up 6 yards on the play with Chris Draft making the tackle. The Philadelphia Eagle offensive line, solid run blockers and pass protectors this year. And Deuce Staley with a banner year. Todd Pinkston coming back after a turf toe, knocked him out against the Giants in the final regular season game. And of course the story, Donovan McNabb, first start since week 11 with the fractured right ankle. Ryan Westbrook into the game at the running back, and the rookie from Villanova goes nowhere on first down. Defensively for the Atlanta Falcons, and this is truly a no-name defense, playing Wade Phillips' popular 3-4. Brady Smith had a knee problem. Keith Brooking going to the Pro Bowl for the 2nd time. And the secondary with Jerron Bolden starting at cornerback in place of Ray Buchanan, who will play as a nickel corner. So 3rd down and 4 from the 28-yard line of the Eagles. And McNabb with the short drop with a touch pass intended for Pinkston, and it's knocked away, bringing up 4th down as we send it down to Ron Pitts.
Guys, as you saw, a scary moment there for Atlanta safety Keon Carpenter. Now, the Falcons medical staff told me that he lost feeling in his total upper body, and it did come back by the time he got on the cart. They're taking him off for further observation. I will let you know when I know more in that situation. Dick?
All right, Ron, thanks very much. So 4th down, and the Falcons hold. And there is Allen Rawson, who returned to punt 91 yards for a touchdown earlier in the year. And Lee Johnson will kick it away for the Eagles. The veteran left-footed kicker, sending Rawson back with a beautiful kick inside the 15. And this time Rawson is down. Great coverage by the Eagles special teams led by Damian Douglas. A 57-yard punt by Lee Johnson, and we'll be back. The excitement of the NFL postseason continues tomorrow. The second of our NFC Divisional playoff matchups, the 49ers and the Buccaneers. What do you want to talk about, the 49er comeback or the fact that Brad Johnson coming back after several weeks off with a bad back?
Well, I think they've got a similar situation as to what we have here with Donovan McNabb. Brad Johnson hasn't played in quite some time. The 49ers coming off an emotional victory and traveling across the country.
Falcons starting from the 18-yard line. After holding the Eagles on their first possession, and Warwick Dunn is upended, and a fine play made by Sean Barber, the linebacker, and a few words exchanged by the two linemen up front. Sean Barber really been a sleeper this year for this club, and Levon Kirkland starting in the middle for Philadelphia.
And that's going to be one of the matchups they try and take advantage of. They want to expose Levon Kirkland in the passing game. You see L.J. Crumbler right there just finishing that block. You don't get Levon Kirkland in that position very often.
Loss of 3. Ball back at the 15. And Mike Vick, and he completes the pass to Reggie Kelly, as the Falcons intending to use a lot of the two tight end formation. Kelly, normally a blocker, has improved his pass catching abilities the last few weeks, picks up 7 yards on the play.
And what they're going to do, if they leave Levon Kirkland in the two tight end situation, they will throw the ball. You see some substitutions right here. If they can get Barry Gardner into the lineup, they will go and run the ball. They're going to try and create a mismatch with their two tight end package.
Ike Reese, number 58, who's got some speed of his own, is in at linebacker, so the chess game is underway here at Veterans Stadium. 3rd down and 6, and Mike Vick completing the pass for the first down to Quentin McCord. And Quentin McCord, kind of a silent receiver all year till he exploded for 7 catches and 180 yards and a score against Detroit in Week 16.
It's just amazing to watch Mike Vick in these situations. Last week in Lambeau and now this week at the Vet, he is just unflappable. And Quentin McCord does a nice job turning Bobby Taylor around a little bit, but the accuracy of Mike Vick, everybody wants to talk about how he runs with the football, but he is a very effective passer.
First down, Atlanta on their 30. First quarter, no score. Warwick Dunn. And Warwick Dunn, not very big, but has the ability to get yardage inside. Settles for 3 yards. And linebacker Carlos Emmons making the tackle for Philadelphia.
Warwick Dunn, he actually was up here in Philadelphia during free agency trying to visit with the Philadelphia Eagles, and Andy Reid did everything he could to try and convince him to come. He decided to go to Atlanta. It's actually nice. It worked out very well for both the guys involved because Deuce Staley with the Eagles had a breakout year after coming back off that Liz Frank injury.
And Warwick Dunn living in Atlanta, so that was an easy choice for him after a while. Pressure put on Vick, and the interception. Bobby Taylor. Bobby Taylor in the end zone for the touchdown. Dan Reeves told us last night we're not good enough of a team to overcome turnovers. They had 5 takeaways against the Packers last week, and a very costly interception returned 39 yards for a touchdown by Taylor.
And Bobby Taylor, he has played at a Pro Bowl level for several years, but he hasn't had the interceptions. Right there, he just jumps the route by Sean Jefferson. Mike Vick threw that ball drifting backwards off of his back foot. You can't do that against the corners of the Philadelphia Eagles.
David Akers on for the extra point, and the Eagles, with just under 8 minutes remaining in the first quarter, taking a 7-0 lead on the strength of Pro Bowl Bobby Taylor's interception.
The Philadelphia Eagles do a great job of containing Mike Vick in the pocket with their pressure. You see it come up the middle of the field. He has nowhere to go. He drifts back, throws it off his back foot. Bobby Taylor jumps the route and then does a nice job of running to get into the end zone.
Taylor led the Eagles with 5 interceptions during the regular season and returning 1 for a score. And it has been a contrast for Mike Vick. First 6 games did not throw a pick, but in the last 9 games of the regular season, fired 8 of them into enemy hands. And now the Eagles leading 7-0. And the Falcons playing on the road, something they didn't experience last week when they moved out 24-0 against Green Bay. Here is Allen Rossum, who returned the opening kickoff 47 yards and had to come back because of penalties, slips and slides at the 22. And we'll take a timeout from the vet. Back here in Philadelphia, the Eagles leading 7-0. Yes, it is cold, and we do.
Got caught.
But you know, gloves would help you. I have a pair if you need them. Anyway, it's interesting that no 2 games are alike. And referring to the Falcon-Packer playoff game, it's like fingerprints. You know, every game is going to be different, and this one already starting out differently for the Falcons.
A total reversal of last week at Lambeau. And as the team on the road in the playoffs, you've got to come out and do something to take the crowd out of the football game. They start out with a great return on the opening kickoff, have the penalties, and then the big interception. They've got this crowd into it now.
And on the reverse, Warwick Dunn to Quentin McCord, and McCord is dragged down by Troy Vincent. And after all of that, a pickup of 3 yards for the Atlanta Falcons. The Eagles have a hearty 23-5 record when scoring first, including a 1-0 mark in the playoffs. So the 3-yard gain will bring up 2nd and 7 for the Atlanta Falcons, who had a crazy year. They lost 3 of their first 4 games, 3 of their last 4 games, and in between had an unbeaten string of 8 with 7 wins in a tie. Vick out of the shotgun gets a low snap and goes down low. And it's Brandon Whiting. And we talk about how the Philadelphia Eagles really have solid pass rushers across that line. Loss of 6.
All the way across the line. It's not just their defensive ends, it's their defensive tackles as well. And they get a good push up the middle. But Mike Vick was excited to play in this football game tonight because he wants to get rid of the stigma that he can't play well against a quick pressure defense. He struggled against the Buccaneers this season. They lost both of those football games. Philadelphia is as close as you can get to that Tampa Bay defense.
And the Eagles' 3rd down defense is the best in the league. It'll be 3rd and 13. And here is the Vick stepping up. And now taking off and slipping and losing the ball, and the Eagles have it, and the ball knocked out of bounds, and it'll be Atlanta ball. Falcons will have the ball as Andy Kalu forced the fumble on Mike Vick, and the Eagles did not get possession enough back before it went out of bounds.
The offense retains possession. 4th down. The clock will start on the snap.
Jim Johnson told the defensive players when he scrambles, he will have that ball out. I want you to take a shot. Just take your shot. And in that situation, he was stumbling, trying to gain his balance. Sean Barber misses a great opportunity to put the Eagles in great field position.
Barber did not have possession before he lost it out of bounds, so it goes back to Atlanta, and we'll see Brian Mitchell for the first time tonight returning a kick for the Eagles as Chris Moore punting and gets off a good high kick, and Mitchell with a fair catch at the 36. So it has been a shaky start for the Atlanta Falcons with penalties on their first offensive possession, and then Bobby Taylor playing a big role for the Eagles.
Yeah, he's had an up and down evening. You see right there, setting a tempo by this defense, draws a personal foul call. The retaliation by Sean Jefferson. But who's going to get the best of it? This has been a battle all night long. There goes Bobby Taylor with the play of the game so far.
His 5th career postseason interception, and going to his first Pro Bowl after the season. Phenomenal secondary, 3 out of 4 going to the Pro Bowl. Here's Donovan McNabb drilling a pass, caught by tight end Chad Lewis, and a first down into Atlanta territory.
Wade Phillips still bringing pressure. You'll see right here in the defensive front, Gerald McBurrows, 22, Chris Draft, 54. The Eagles do a great job of picking it up. Donovan McNabb fits the ball into Chad Lewis, and Keith Brookings misses the tackle. I tell you what, everybody thought he was going to get off to a slow start and be a little bit rusty. I don't see any rust right now.
Not at all. And in fact, McNabb, when he was on the sidelines, was watching Feely throw to people like Chad Lewis, getting into more of the action. And here is a fade pattern downfield to Pinkston, and it is a catch. Todd Pinkston returning to action after suffering a turf toe, and you couldn't ask for better touch from Donovan McNabb than that. Good for 25 yards.
I think that this is the best throw that Donovan McNabb does down the field. Jerome Bolden in coverage, right over the outstretched fingertips. He looked great in practice on Friday. He moved well, he threw the football well, but we did not know how he was going to play this evening because they were in shorts and shells. It wasn't at game speed, but it seems as though he has had no effect from those 2 months off.
Hey, Mosa, looks like a 7-on-7 drill that we saw without any defensive pressure. Deuce Staley on the carry on first down as the Eagles threatening again on the 24-yard line of Atlanta, and Keith Brooking making a tackle, and Staley knocked back for a loss of 1.
Wade Phillips right there. He wanted to bring pressure from the start. We'll see if he adjusted his decision. They talked about having a plan B. They wanted to test Donovan McNabb's mobility and then see how that worked out. Up until this point, I would think it's about time to go to plan B right now.
And hopes he doesn't have to go to plan C. 2nd and 11, play action. And McNabb looking one way and dropping the pass is Chad Lewis. And the tight end was there. A perfect throw from McNabb. And the drop by Lewis will bring up 3rd down.
What a well-designed play. They've got 2 receivers flooding the zones on the left side. Chad Lewis drags across the middle of the field. Donovan McNabb turns to the backside, finds him, throws a nice pass right between the numbers. Chad Lewis got to make that catch.
3rd down and 10 for the Eagles, leading 7-0 with nearly 4.5 minutes to play in the opening quarter. Dorsey Levens checking in for the first time. And McNabb getting time and completing the Pinkston on a crossing pattern, and Pinkston is tackled shy of the first down by about 3 yards. And it was Ashley Ambrose and John Dale Hardy who went in for Carpenter, the free safety.
And this is one of the areas the Falcons have struggled in down the stretch, are these underneath shallow routes. They lose people in coverage, and one of the areas that Donovan McNabb has really improved this season is his accuracy in getting the ball to his wide receivers on the move. Todd Pinkston, a nice job looking that ball in, and that's a positive because he's coming off of a turf toe injury.
Yes, he is, and showing that no ill effects. Here's David Akers. His last attempt was a miss in the waning moments against the Giants, trying to get back on track, and the 34-yard attempt is good. David Akers with a 34-yard field goal, giving Andy Reid and the Eagles a 10-0 lead. And that is a terrific start for the Eagles. Talking about starts, February 16th, NASCAR on Fox presents the 45th running of the Great American Race, the Daytona 500. Mike Joy, DW, and Larry Mack lead our gang for another season of high-speed racing with all the energy, humor, and excitement only they can deliver. Tony Stewart leads a star-studded field of the world's best drivers as Fox's 15 weeks of NASCAR coverage begins with Daytona's Speed Weeks on February 8th, leading to the Daytona 500.
And that last field goal, the snap, not perfect, but you watch, Coy Detmer does a nice job. It's on his front side low, gets it put down. David Akers converts it. And we saw how critical that can be, just the snap and hold mechanics. Last week, that San Francisco Giant game, something you just can't take for granted.
And Donovan McNabb, 3 of 4, and the only incompletion was the drop by Chad Lewis. So I think Donovan McNabb has answered question as to his ability to run with the ball early on and his ability to zing the passes and stay in the pocket. Allen Rossum back to receive the kick from Akers. The Eagles jumping in front 10-0 here in this NFC Divisional tilt. And here's Rossum at the 6. Rossum following blockers and a solid return, but another flag flies. It was the kicker Akers who pushed Rossum out of bounds. And another penalty, and so far virtually all of them have gone against the visiting Falcons.
Holding during the return of the receiving team, number 85. 10-yard penalty, first down.
Ryan Kozlowski called for the hold.
You see him right there going up against Damian Douglas. Allen Rossum breaks to the outside. When you take a guy to the ground in the NFL, you will get a flag 90% of the time.
Well, now let's see what kind of poise this Atlanta Falcon team has. They got into the playoffs. They lost their final game against the Browns, but because the Saints were beaten by Carolina, they got in there as the number 6 seed. You said the pressure was on Philadelphia coming in. Right now, I think Atlanta has to be feeling some of that. 1st and 10 on the 26. Pressure on McNabb. Corey Simon and Hugh Douglas chasing Mike Vick. Mike Vick as he goes out of bounds.
Boy, he just got this arm moving forward in the nick of time, and one of the things that Mike Vick has to learn as a quarterback in the NFL right now, just throw the ball away. Just throw it away. They have that rule in place.
And the officials
they ruled incomplete initially.
Have thrown the flag down.
Intentional grounding.
He didn't get it beyond the line of scrimmage.
He was out of the pocket. However, the ball went directly to the ground, did not get back to the line of scrimmage. It's a 10-yard penalty, loss of down, 2nd down.
And it looks like Mike Vick might have hurt his hand going out of bounds as well.
You see the shove by Hugh Douglas right there, both hands going into the turf. You get up, you can see him go to his left hand immediately right there.
10-yard penalty being marked off. And you got to wonder what else can go wrong for the Falcons in the first quarter of this game. And Jim Johnson has dialed up the right defenses against Mike Vick thus far. 2nd down and 20. Back on the Falcons 16. And Vick on the screen to Warwick Dunn. And Dunn doesn't get much as he is tackled at the 20-yard line, and another penalty flag down back behind the line of scrimmage. Another penalty against the Falcons.
Holding. Offense number 71. Half the distance to the goal is declined. 3rd down.
5 penalties already assessed against the Falcons for 53 yards. The Eagles have not committed any, so the penalty decline, bringing up 3rd down and 16.
They just continue to shoot themselves in the foot. Every time they make something positive happen in their special teams, there's a penalty. And right now, Jim Johnson has come up with a great plan to disrupt this Atlanta Falcons offense.
Things look so bright for them on the 47-yard kickoff return by Rossum to start the game, and then the penalty, and the Falcons have not recovered. Trevor Gaylor, number 81, checking in at wide receiver. And the Atlanta Falcons will call a timeout. You wonder whether they'd like to call 2 timeouts in succession here to talk things over and just steady things. It's been that rocky for them.
Boy, it's just an absolute reversal of what happened last week at Lambeau Field when they jumped out to a 24-0 lead. Big plays in special teams. Everything going Atlanta's way, and this evening, they just can't seem to do anything right. And when you're a team on the road, playing in a place like the Vet here in Philadelphia, where the crowd is definitely a factor in the football game, you've got to come out and execute in the beginning of the game. And they have done everything but that this evening.
This is what Andy Reid wanted, was home field advantage. And when the Giants beat them in overtime, you thought that dissolved. And then the Jets beating the Green Bay Packers the next day, giving Reid and the Eagles the home field edge. So they had a week off. They're home tonight and hope to get home in the NFC Championship game.
Tell you what, that shows you how inept they have been offensively with their penalties and their execution. They have more yards to go on 3rd down than they do on 1st down.
And they do here. 3rd down and 16. Crowd waving their white towels, and the screen pass up the middle of Warwick Dunn gets free, and Dunn's going to get the first down. Warwick Dunn, elusive as he is, picking up 17 yards, and the Falcons silence the crowd and get out of trouble with a first down.
No, that's going to be a big play right there. 3rd and 16. Nothing has gone right for you. Darwin Walker in position, number 97. You see him in pursuit of Warwick Dunn, but Warwick is just too quick. He gets up the field. They had all their wide receivers on deep routes. There was a huge void in the middle of that football field.
And Warwick Dunn becoming a big factor down the stretch for the Falcons as a runner and as a pass receiver. First down now at the 37, and they go again to Dunn, but the Eagles are there. On first down, led by Brandon Whiting. No gain on the play.
They had the situation that they were looking for. They had their 2 tight ends in the football game. Levon Kirkland was on the field, but they decided to run the football. That's the matchup that they wanted to create, but they wanted to get into their passing game that they throw from the 2 tight ends when Levon's on the field.
2nd and 10 for the Falcons, trailing 10-0. Right now, all Atlanta looking to do is to find some way just to get their first score of the game. The first score is the toughest score out of the shotgun. On 2nd down, and the handoff bobbled momentarily by McCord, and the big wide receiver getting close to a first down. Not a smooth exchange between the two, and McCord will get 9 yards before Troy Vincent stops him.
An underneath handoff out of the shotgun. You see a little bit of a bobble there, but nice blocking out front. Keenan Forney gets a good block. Troy Vincent going down to make the tackle, but the Atlanta Falcons, after converting that 3rd and 16, finally have generated some positive momentum in this football game.
Levon Kirkland checking back in. He is the huge run stopper for the Eagles. It'll be 3rd down and 1. T.J. Duckett, the rookie from Michigan State, who has been a force down the stretch, is knocked back, and they won't get it, and it's Corey Simon making the key play for the Eagles. Duckett will lose a yard, and the Falcons will have to punt.
They just pushed the line of scrimmage back 2 yards. Watch all the white jerseys start coming backwards. Corey Simon gets underneath Keenan Forney, drives him back. There's nothing that will ruin a running play quicker than penetration. T.J. Duckett has nowhere to go on this running play. You can see Corey Simon coming across right there. Everybody else gets stuffed in the hole. He had nowhere to go.
Chris Moore punting for the 3rd time in this game, and Brian Mitchell fields it and is hit immediately inside the 15. Brian Mitchell with all the concentration to hold on to the ball after the 41-yard kick, and it was Kevin McAdam who made the hit. So Mitchell needing 12 more punt return yards to become the league's all-time punt returner.
Boy, he is very fortunate to hold on to this football. I don't know how he did it. Kevin McAdam hits him immediately after he makes the catch, and that just goes to show you how important it is to have a guy back in that situation who's been doing it for a number of years. That is just great concentration by Brian Mitchell.
Eagles first down on their 14, leading 10-0 in the final seconds of the first quarter. McNabb getting hit, and the pass is caught by Deuce Staley as McNabb got hit, as time will run out, and now with 1 second to go, the clock runs out. So this is the first time that McNabb, coming back on that injured right ankle, getting hit. That is the end of the first quarter. Eagles lead the Falcons 10-0. This crowd has a great sense of humor. You're not in Lambeau anymore, and of course that is where the Falcons became the first team to beat the Packers in postseason, Lambeau Field last week. And now they go into the second quarter, going from back to the fire, second in the NFL in second quarter scoring, and the Eagles led. So let's see whether they light it up here as we start the second quarter. Dick Stockton, Darrell Johnson, along with Ron Pitts. Second down and 7 for the Eagles on their 17. McNabb getting time, going deep for Thrash, and James Thrash is there to make the reception. He was McNabb's favorite receiver when Donovan was healthy. And now we have an injured player, Jerron Bolden, who is defending on the play, slow getting up for the Falcons. That was a 42-yard pass play from McNabb to Thrash.
James Thrash, the missing in action receiver since Donovan McNabb went out of the lineup. That's his go-to guy. They spread the ball around a lot, but that's the guy that he likes to get it to. Jerron Bolden, I couldn't see what happened right there, but the Philadelphia training staff was out there immediately, and when the other team gets out there very quickly, that is not a good situation. He reaches for his right knee immediately.
Well, they've already lost Keon Carpenter, and now Jerron Bolden, who is subbing for Ray Buchanan, is shaken up. A nightmarish start for the Atlanta Falcons, and right now they are in the process of seeing their second defensive back being carted off. Keon Carpenter earlier on the hit with Deuce Staley, and now Jerron Bolden, who went down trying to defend against James Thrash. Bolden starting the game in place of Ray Buchanan, normally the starter.
And you'll see his own legs get tangled up together as he goes to make an adjustment on the long ball. You'll see him kind of kick out his left leg with his right leg. You see him immediately go to grab his right leg, and Rick Buckhalter and the Philadelphia Eagle training staff was out there immediately because it happened right in front of their sideline, and when that happens, you know that it was a bad injury.
And they're working on Jerron Bolden, and right now, while we have a moment, let's go back to Los Angeles and James Brown for a game break. JB.
Hey, Dick, for those viewers who may have missed it, this is how Tennessee moves on to the AFC Championship round. That field goal by Joe Netney, a good one that after being run into on the previous attempt, and Tennessee takes it by 3. Back to Dick Stockton.
All right, JB, and Bolden still on the turf. So Ray Buchanan, who has suffered a strained abdominal muscle, which knocked him out of action in this game, and he normally was the starter, and the Falcons have been using Buchanan as the nickel cornerback, will be forced into action now as Bolden is helped onto the cart.
It'll be interesting to see if Brad Childress wants to test Ray Buchanan. He had been bothered by that abdominal strain for several weeks. It affects him in his coverage underneath and when he has to pivot. So we'll see if the Eagles want to see how healthy Ray Buchanan is on this first offensive play.
And it's great to see a lot of the Eagles going over to Bolden, as they did with Keon Carpenter, wishing both of those players well as they leave the game. And there is Bolden urging his team on. They won't have Bolden, but they've got Ray Buchanan in the lineup right now. So the 2 injuries in the secondary for the Falcons in the first half.
The Eagles' first possession, Keon Carpenter right there actually lost feeling in his upper extremities. And then on that last play, Jerron Bolden going down with a serious injury to his right leg.
First down on the 41 of the Falcons, and the give is to Deuce Staley, and Staley picking up a couple, so at least on 1 down. The Eagles are not trying to test Ray Buchanan. That was a 3-yard pickup on the play.
Now they decide to come back and test the middle of the defense, and this is an adjustment for 63 Hank Fraley. He's not used to playing with a guy directly over his nose. Ed Jasper does a nice job of playing off the block and getting in to make the first hit on Deuce Staley.
And Jasper, another former Eagle, now wearing the red and black of the Atlanta Falcons.
Yes, sir.
Second down and 6 with a minute gone by here in the second quarter. Thomas in the tight end in motion, and the Falcons pointing, indicating that the Eagles had moved. And Mike Carey with a quick conference.
Ball starts on the offense, and the illegal snap by number 63. 5-yard penalty, remains second down.
You could have had your pick right there. There was a lot of different things that were going wrong with that play, but Hank Fraley was trying to make some adjustments, and he kind of moved the ball a little bit, so they decided to call it on him.
First penalty against the Philadelphia Eagles. The Falcons have been severely damaged by the 5 penalties against them. Second down, 11 on the 43 of the Falcons. And the quick slant to Antonio Freeman. And Freeman tackled by Ray Buchanan after picking up 9 yards, and we'll send it down to Ron Pitts for a report. Ron.
Dick, the injury report on Jerron Bolden, a right knee injury. Right now, we don't know the extent of it. What we do know is he is out for sure for the rest of this game. I'll get back to you when I know more on his situation.
All right, Ron. So the Falcons secondary awfully thin at this point. Eagles, 3rd down and 2 on the Falcon 33. 3 wide receivers, and McNabb with the slant to Pinkston. First down inside the 30, gaining 6 more yards. So it looks as if Donovan McNabb never left the scene, Darryl. It looks like he played the entire year. It's been 2 months since he's played, and he shows no rustiness so far.
No, and Todd Pinkston, also a guy who came into the game and not quite sure what he was going to do, and the two team up on a nice throw and catch. They beat Fred Weary on a quick slant, and that's what happens. You have the injury to Jerron Bolden. Now Ray Buchanan comes in as your starting corner. Now Fred Weary comes in as your nickelback.
Eagles with a first down on the 28, and they spread it out with an empty backfield. 4 wide receivers and a tight end, and the McNabb getting good protection going underneath to the rookie Bryant Westbrook. And Westbrook with a short gain of 3 yards with McBurrows, the strong safety, right there.
I just continue to be impressed by the way Donovan McNabb has started this football game, and he was worried about how he was going to come out himself. He knew that he would be very excited. He was worried about the adrenaline. Would he sail the ball on his throws? He knew that it would be a matter of time before he calmed down, but I don't think he's missed a beat. I think he's come out, he's monitored his emotions, and has played very effective until this point.
9 of 11 for 109 yards, and he's run for 19 more. This time it's Deuce Staley's turn to run, and the Eagles feeding it to Staley, who so far has not been able to get away from the Falcon defense. Ed Jasper making the tackle after a gain of 1. And the nickel package coming in now with 3rd down for the Eagles, who lead 10-0. Scoring Bobby Taylor with an interception return for a touchdown and a David Akers field goal. 3rd down and 6, and Alan Rawson, who rarely is back there as defensive back. He is the kick returner, and he's forced into action as an extra defensive back. So they're really forcing the Falcons to go deep. There's the pass to Thrash in the end zone. Flag is thrown, and it was Fred Weary wrestling with James Thrash on the touch pass again in the corner of the end zone, and the Falcons may be called for pass interference. And Atlanta hoping that it's Thrash who pushed off.
Right now, it looks as though the Philadelphia Eagles have selected Fred Weary as the guy that they're going to try to attack. Is when one injury affects the entire secondary, guys are forced into the lineup. Number 24 seems to be the guy they want to test.
There are fouls by both teams on the play. Personal foul, hands to the face, number 63 of the offense, and pass interference, number 24 of the defense. Those fouls offset. What do you do with 3rd down?
We saw Fred Weary and James Thrash going at it down the field. But while this was going on in the middle, Hank Fraley had got his hands up under the chin of Keith Brooking. I tell you what, that is not a good call, because he got his hands up there and he pulled them down right away. The only reason they should call hands to the face is if you get him up there and you leave him there. Hank Fraley gave him a little bit of a punch. I don't agree with that call at all.
Andy Reid, though, stays cool on the sidelines, as he does when things are going well or not so well for Philadelphia. 3rd down and 6 after the offsetting penalties. McNabb getting away from pressure, and McNabb will be tackled short of the first down by about 2 yards, and it was John Dale Carty who was backup free safety for the injured Keon Carpenter, bringing up 4th down and 2, and Akers will come on to add to the Eagle lead with a field goal attempt.
Well, that should answer anybody's questions about how Donovan McNabb is feeling this evening, because he had an opportunity to slide, but he's not going to play the game any differently than he always has. He's trying to get that first down. He goes in head first. He's not worried about that leg.
Akers will attempt a 39-yard field goal. And the holder is Coy Detmer. And Akers kick, and it is good. Barely made it inside the left upright. And the Eagles now take a 13-0 lead. Well, according to that that thermometer, we're under 0 right now, and it is cold, it is windy here in Philadelphia. 9 plays, 65-yard drive, and David Akers with his second field goal of the game, and Donovan McNabb was a perfect 5 for 5. So now the Atlanta Falcons looking to get back in the game. A short kick by Akers, and Rawson again on the return. He's been a busy player tonight, doesn't go anywhere there, and once again good coverage by the Eagles, this time by Keith Adams on the tackle.
The NFC Divisional Playoffs on Fox are brought to you by Microsoft, providing software for the agile business.
Welcome back to Philadelphia, 13-0. You know, Darryl, after watching last weekend's games, there's no deficit too large, but against this Philadelphia defense, I'm not so sure. I don't think the Falcons can keep falling behind by that much.
No, absolutely. We saw that no lead is safe last weekend, but one of the things that the Philadelphia Eagles found out watching Tampa Bay, trying to find out why they had such success against Atlanta this season, they played with a lead in both of those football games.
Yes, they have. And so the Falcons starting from their 24 with this possession. And Mike Vick has been no factor thus far in the game and continues to be no factor. And it's Corey Simon coming in with the sack, second of the game for the green-shirted Eagles.
Corey Simon is just having an outstanding game. Playing the left defensive tackle, going up against Keenan Forney. He beats him to the inside immediately. It looked like a miscue in the blocking scheme. Something wrong there up in the front. But that is the third time tonight that he has been in the backfield immediately. And everybody's worried about Hugh Douglas and what he's doing from the edge. They better start worrying about number 90 in the middle.
Loss of 10 yards, and the Eagles, who had 56 sacks, number 1 in the NFL during the regular year. Second down and 20. And the play clock running down, and the crowd loud, unable for Mike Vick to hear. The Falcons forced to call their second timeout of this first half. And the crowd just gets louder.
Welcome back to Philadelphia. Ron Pitts here. You know, one thing that's made this Eagle defense so tough tonight, Jim Johnson, he's running what they call cover 1. He leaves the safety in the middle of the field, and the quarterbacks are bump and run coverage. They're all getting jammed, and it's making it hard on the Falcon wide receivers.
Yep. Hey, what's it like in that corner, Moose?
They cannot hear anything on that field right now.
Second and 20, Vick's pass. And it is caught by Reggie Kelly and good for 11 yards. And it's like turning a dial on and off. The crowd yelling, completed pass, dial goes down.
You got to make plays when you're on the road. You got to do something to silence the crowd. You get deep into one end of the football field and they are going to get louder. The only thing you can do to quiet them is start to make some plays.
Kelly out of the game and replaced by Quentin McCord, the third wide receiver. 3rd and 10. From the Atlanta 24, and there's pressure from behind on Mike Vick, and Vick fires, and wide open is Quentin McCord for the catch, and a first down plus out of bounds, picking up 23 yards, and knocked out of bounds shy of midfield.
Jim Johnson's big concern, pressure up the middle. Hugh Douglas goes inside, nobody replaces him. That allows Michael Vick to scramble to his left. And when he scrambles, the play just begins. His receivers adjust their routes. They watch him on film, and they really feel that this is a well-orchestrated drill that they have done during the practice week. Bobby Taylor comes off of Quentin McCord. He is wide open on the sideline.
First down on the Atlanta 47 as the Eagles show blitz up the middle, and here's Warwick Dunn trying to answer it, and he does with another first down, protecting the football as he charges into Eagle territory, picking up 11 more yards. Sean Barber, the linebacker, making the tackle on Dunn.
Warwick Dunn, you see him tap dance a little bit in the backfield, but when he decides to get upfield, he doesn't spend a whole lot of time at the line of scrimmage. He is into the Eagles secondary very quickly. Enough yards for the first down.
And the longest rush of the game by the Falcons. First down on the 42 of Philadelphia. Atlanta trying to get on the scoreboard and stop the tide, which has been favoring the Eagles. And here is Warwick Dunn with an opening, and Dunn to the 35-yard line. A solid 7-yard pickup on first down. And Levon Kirkland, who was a pickup from the Seattle Seahawks, has been Jim Johnson's middle linebacker, and some question early in the year as far as his ability to cover passes, but no one has ever questioned his ability to stop the run, have they?
No, and you could see the reaction by Jim Johnson. That's why he was upset, because they shouldn't be able to be running the football with that kind of success with Levon in the game.
2nd and 3. This time they show run, and Vick's pass, and over the head of the tight end Reggie Kelly. And once again, one of the Falcon receivers got open.
And they were very fortunate that they had pressure with their defensive front and hit Michael Vick. Now he's shaking his right hand after this play. There goes Reggie Kelly. They let him go. He's running free in the secondary. But Michael Vick was unable to deliver that ball to the open area because of the pressure. You see right there, Levon Kirkland gets blocked. And then it looks like Darwin Walker comes in, gets a shot on him. He bumped his right hand on that one.
3rd down and 3. Vick has been under pressure, has carried one time for 2 yards in the game, has not been a threat running. Now being chased, and Michael Vick charges and gets the first down before he goes out of bounds. So Mike Vick picks up the first down for the Falcons, a gain of 4. As Paul Grassmanis charged and put the pressure on from behind.
What they're allowing Mike Vick to do is to scramble to his left. He's a left-handed quarterback. That is the side that he prefers to go to. Jim Johnson told him, you've got to make him move to his right, so he's throwing across his body. He's got to be just pulling his hair out right now, because every time Mike Vick scrambles, they're affording him the opportunity to move to his left.
Trevor Gaylor, who's been in for Sean Jefferson since the first series. Jefferson might have re-injured his hamstring, and here is Warwick Dunn shaking off the initial tackle and getting close to another Falcon first down. He's about a yard short. Brandon Whiting downfield on the tackle, so as you pointed out, you want to quiet the crowd, move the ball down the field, and the Falcons have been pretty consistent on this series.
They have done a tremendous job on this drive coming out of the deep part of their football field. Warwick Dunn breaking tackles, finding seams. This is a great drive by the Falcons offense right now, and let's not forget it's only 13-0.
9th play of the drive. Coming up with under 6 minutes to go in the first half, and there is Warwick Dunn getting inside the 20, and more than enough for a first down. So Dunn now has carried 9 times for 40 yards, and has spearheaded this Atlanta attack.
This is the one thing that had to concern Andy Reid. I think all the focus was going to be on the quarterbacks, and the one thing that we can't forget about is both of these teams run the football very well, and Warwick Dunn has been the key guy on this drive for the Falcons.
McNabb has been the leading rusher for the Eagles with 22 yards. Dunn has 40 to top the Falcons. First down on the Eagle 19. They fake a pitch to Dunn and the pass into the end zone, and it is incomplete. And Brian Kozlowski, the third tight end, was well covered by Eagle defenders downfield.
I thought for a minute that Brian Kozlowski had kind of slipped through with nobody around him. Some good makeup speed by Michael Lewis to get back on that play. But I tell you, you talk to Dan Reeves, he says the most impressive thing about Michael Vick is his composure. He's just absolutely unflappable. And for this team to come out and play as poorly as they have, they're only down 13, and he has shown on this drive that it's not a problem. I can handle it. I can come back from any situation that happens during the course of a game.
Very calm. Remember, Ray Buchanan told our guys in the studio last week that maybe they got to get him juiced up a little bit. He's so calm. And here he is in the pocket, and he's got Warwick Dunn out of the backfield and gone to the 15-yard line, and a good tackle there made by Barry Gardner, one of the speed defenders that Jim Johnson said he would use against this quick team.
And what a great tackle by Barry Gardner, because he was out in the open field with not a lot of people around him, one-on-one versus Warwick Dunn. He's got some help behind him, but they're about 12 yards behind him. Warwick tries to sell him on the inside. That's a nice tackle by Barry Gardner.
Gain of 4, 3rd down and 7. Falcons in field goal range, but trying to get it inside the 10 for the first down. And here is the pressure and getting rid of the ball. And if he threw it toward the line of scrimmage, it would not be a grounding call. Mike Carey is right there. And it was Blaine Bishop on the blitz, coming up from his strong safety position, incomplete and 4th down.
You see him come from the left side of the defense, and the worst part about this is he comes unblocked. They're trying to run a quick underneath screen to Warwick Dunn. They're just challenging Blaine Bishop to see if he can get there in time, and he got there in time to get a hit on Mike Vick.
So Jay Feely, who led the NFL with 40 field goals this year, or 32 field goals in 40 tries, will try to give the Falcons their first points. Mike Carey conferring with the officials and resetting the clock. This will be a 34-yard attempt. Feely was 2 for 4 last week. Both of his misses were beyond 40 yards. Jay Feely with the field goal, and it's good. So the Falcons jumping up ahead, getting their first points, trailing now 13-3.
Michael Vick with his scrambling ability, but the Philadelphia Eagles defense has done a good job, and that is the specialty of Jim Johnson and this defensive group. The one thing that they have allowed him to do is move to his left, but it's been all 4 of the guys up front. Corey Simon has had a huge game so far. Darwin Walker getting in on a little bit of the action, and now the secondary comes. And one of the worst things you want to see happen when you go against a Jim Johnson coach defense is somebody to come clean in their blitz package, because he will find the weakness, and when he does, he will continue to exploit it until you make the adjustments.
Pretty impressive scoring drive, Moose, by the Atlanta Falcons, because they started with in that corner where you could not hear anything. In fact, Mike Vick had to call a timeout, and a 13-play drive. They had to settle for the field goal, but at least they have managed to score and trail 13-3 in a game in which we have not seen an offensive touchdown. Eagles score coming on the interception by Bobby Taylor. The rest of the scoring by the field goal kickers.
Well, the most important thing is they finally had something positive happen to them in this football game. They have just really come out and struggled up until that point, and to be able to drive down the field and get some points, even though it's a field goal, at that point they had to feel as though the game was starting to slip away from them. But Michael Vick, a very nice drive with that offensive unit.
Feely will be kicking off, and Brian Mitchell for the Eagles to return with 4:10 left to play in the first half. 13-3 in favor of the Eagles, and the flag is down, and onside kick, and it has to go 10 yards. Flag is down. Joe DeCamillis, the special teams coach of the Atlanta Falcons, always has a gimmick or two in his back pocket.
Well, we saw how important special teams was in the football games last weekend. And in the playoffs, it can turn the tide or change the momentum of a football game.
It has in most of the playoff games thus far.
The ball was first touched by the receivers, then recovered by the kickers. However, the kickers were offside, number 50, 5-yard penalty, free kick from the 25-yard line.
Wow. Boy, it just continues to go bad for the Atlanta Falcons. They get a break with Philadelphia touching the ball. So even though it didn't go 10 yards because Philadelphia had touched it, it becomes a live ball. They recover it, but they can't execute the kick correctly. They had somebody offsides, and we've got an Eagle down on the far sideline.
Artie Ulmer was offsides. Kevin Mathis had recovered. And you were talking about how special teams has been so important in the playoffs. And we can go back to the New York Jets and Chad Morton, who had a 70-yard kickoff return to start the second half in the Jets' victory in the wild card game against the Indianapolis Colts. And then the Falcons last week, Mark Simoneau coming in to block Ryan Longwell's punt, recovered by Artie Ulmer, and then Randall L. with a 66-yard punt return in the snow for a touchdown against the Cleveland Browns. And then, of course, the now famous botched field goal attempt to end the Giant 49er game. Pass interference not called by the officials, and that ended the game. And there is Joe DeCamillis, who is Dan Reeves' son-in-law and has done a solid job as special teams coach for the Falcons.
Well, you work on that play all week long, and the one point that you emphasize over and over when you call it is don't be offsides. You can't be offsides on this play. The kicker takes a different approach. You got to know what's being called, and it's just unbelievable that Artie Ulmer would be offsides on that play. An opportunity to really grab the momentum back in this football game. They execute it near perfection, but the number one rule when you do an onside kick is don't be offsides.
And now the kickoff will occur from the 25. By the way, that injured Eagle was Sheldon Brown, the rookie cornerback. So Feely will be kicking from the 25 and giving Brian Mitchell a chance to move up a bit. He's got Damian Douglas back there with him. It's headed over toward Mitchell's side. And Mitchell inside the 5. Looking for running room, is hit and knocked back at the 12-yard line. So a terrific bit of coverage. Well, the big news this television season is that America's #1 pregame show taking its act to prime time from the site of the NFC Championship game. You heard it right. Next week, it's Fox NFL Saturday Night as JB, Terry, Howie, Jimmy, Julian, and Jimmy Kimmel grab the spotlight for what promises to be one of television's more entertaining hours, with special appearances by Ja Rule, Ashanti, and Cedric the Entertainer. It's Fox NFL Saturday Night next week at 9 p.m. Eastern and Pacific, only on Fox. Good Falcon special teams coverage on the Eagles. First down from the 13 to Staley. And Staley riding it out close to the 20-yard line. Patrick Kearney and Ellis Johnson making the stop on Staley, who picks up 6. Not much from Staley so far in this game.
But that's the area that I would like to see the Eagles attack the Falcons in the run game, and it's on the edge. They've continued to pound the middle of this defense, but that's where the strength is in the 3-4 defense that the Falcons utilize. The weakness in the run game is on the edge.
Staley has picked up 16 yards on 5 carries. Second down and 4. McNabb avoiding the pass rush, and the pass dropped by Pinkston. So for one of the few times tonight, Darryl, we have seen the Atlanta Falcons putting on a defensive charge, and it was John Theory chasing McNabb from behind.
Well, with John Theory in the lineup, Wade Phillips electing to go with more of a pass rush specialist at the linebacker position to try and disrupt that Philadelphia Eagles passing game. But with the field goal on the last drive, and even though they botched that onside kick, if the Falcons defense can hold here on third down and get the ball back to Michael Vick, they'll have kind of settled down after that shaky start tonight.
And that 3-4 defense, the Eagles saw it one time this year, then against the Houston Texans in week 4 of the season. And the pitch going to Thrash, and Thrash reversing his way, and Thrash being wrestled out of bounds gets the first down. Ashley Ambrose on Thrash, picking up 11. So a new wrinkle in the Philadelphia Eagles offensive plans here.
Well, I think, when you talk about the Philadelphia Eagles, everybody talks about the pressure that the defense puts on you, but the Philadelphia Eagle offense does so many different things. They run a gadget play about once a quarter. Andy Reid likes to use them as his big plays. You've got to be able to defend just about any type of play if you're going against that Eagle offense.
How about McNabb with a little shoulder block on Keith Brooking? First down for Philadelphia on the 30. And Deuce Staley split out to the left, and the ball is tipped, intended for Staley, and it was Patrick Kearney who got a hand on that. Kearney, by the way, a native of Newtown in Bucks County in Pennsylvania. He's going to get his hand on this pass right now, and we showed you the fans in the 700 level. Well, he used to be one of them. Patrick Kearney, growing up as an Eagle fan, used to watch Randall Cunningham from up there, and now going against the team he rooted for as a kid.
And you wonder where he got his toughness from. He's from watching all those Eagle games up in the 700 level.
That'll do it. Thomason, the second tight end in motion, 2nd and 10. Staley, and the Falcons are there for no gain.
Well, we saw the one big play by the Philadelphia Eagle defense, but the offense of the Philadelphia Eagles not really being able to get on track right now. They've had a few big plays, but they've mostly been the scrambles. Gerald McBurrows from the safety area, Chris Draft, Patrick Kearney, they're getting 11 guys to the football, and Atlanta is very similar to Philadelphia. The strength of this defense is the speed and the athleticism of all their players.
It'll be 3rd and 10, and Freddie Mitchell is in the slot to the top of your picture, into the game as a receiver for the first time, and the slant caught by Pinkston, and it'll be a couple of yards short of the first down as we come down to the 2-minute warning. Gain of 7 yards. Fred Weary making the tackle. The Eagles with a 10-point lead. We'll be back. February 16th, NASCAR on Fox presents the 45th running of the Great American Race, the Daytona 500. Mike Joy, DW, and Larry Mack lead our gang for another season of high-speed racing with all the energy, humor, and excitement only they can deliver. Tony Stewart leads a star-studded field of the world's best drivers as Fox's 15 weeks of NASCAR coverage begins with Daytona's Speed Weeks on February 8th, leading to the Daytona 500.
We'll have DW's brother, Michael Waltrip, joining us at the end of halftime.
Lee Johnson punting on 4th down, and Alan Rossum is back. And Rossum from the 20. Eagles have covered the kicks extremely well and are right there again, thanks to Brian Mitchell. Well, we had asked Mike Vick what he thought he would expect in his first appearance against the Philadelphia Eagles.
Well, I expect to see a lot of blitz due to the fact that they had a lot of success blitzing opposing teams all year, and that's been a big thing for them on defense. And me being a young quarterback, I know that they're going to come after me and try to make me throw hot, make me make some decisions and try to make me make some bad decisions.
Well, they have pressured him, but Jim Johnson's plan really incorporated doing a little bit of everything. They did not want to allow Mike Vick to get into any type of rhythm. So they're going to pressure him at times, but they've also got to be able to drop back in coverage. The big thing was to try and confuse him more at the line of scrimmage.
In the running department has gained only 6 yards in 2 attempts, but Vick will tell you he wants to pass first. And this one is ruled incomplete to Algie Crumpler, the tight end. And it'll be 2nd down and 10 from the 21.
And there's one of the ones where they decide to bring the pressure. They've got Brian Dawkins and Sean Barber coming inside. He delivers the ball out to Algie Crumpler on the outside, and Al Harris comes up, separates him from the football with a nice shot. Here comes that pressure inside. Sean Barber and Brian Dawkins coming on the blitz, and they get another hit on Mike Vick.
2nd and 10, Eagles by 10. 1:45 remaining in the first half. And Vick stepping up and trying to get away. And he, with a little fake, manages to do so. Not the smoothest of his escapes, but he gets up to the 29-yard line, leaving himself a couple of yards shy of the first down.
Well, you talk about his speed, but how about his strength? They've got him all wrapped up right there. N.D. Kalu, he just shrugs him off. It's similar to what we saw him do last week against Kabir Baja-Biamila. And I tell you what, he is so impressive to watch. I mean, every time you think he's got one strength of his game, he shows that he's got the whole deal.
Quickest player that Jim Johnson has ever seen. And out of the shotgun, the pressure is on, and the quick pass to Warwick Dunn. Dunn recovers his footing and goes out of bounds, stops the clock after picking up the first down. And it was Sean Barber who missed Warwick Dunn, who then, with the second effort, picks up the first down.
Now, what a great job of keeping this play alive right there. Warwick Dunn gets his hand down to keep himself up, gets enough yards for the first down.
Falcons have only one timeout remaining and under a minute to go in the first half. They spread it out with 3 wide receivers. On the 35, and there is Vick. This time rolling out to his right, sees running room going up the middle, and Mike Vick wending his way for another first down. The clock becoming a factor with only one timeout left. Vick gets 12 yards on the play, and the Falcons will hurry it up to either spike it or run another play, and they will stop the clock with 34 ticks remaining. Coming up on the Visa Halftime Report, J.B. Terry, Howie, and Jimmy will break down the first half of the game. Highlights from the Steelers-Titans contest, and the Fox Sports ticker will keep you updated with up to the second stats.
We've talked about the composure of Mike Vick in this football game, and it's being evidenced really well right here on this 2-minute situation. No panic right there on that last play. Gets everybody lined up, spikes the ball. He plays with the poise of a veteran quarterback.
You know, I have to say right now, the Falcons have taken that initial punch. They still trail, but they look like they have regained their composure. And here is Vick going deep downfield, and the pass is knocked away and nearly intercepted. Quentin McCord almost had to knock it away from Blaine Bishop, who was playing center field and appeared primed for the interception.
Blaine Bishop coming over, gets the hand in, but Quentin McCord almost comes down with the catch. We talked about taking that first punch, Dick. If Quentin McCord can come down with that football right there, that would have been a huge lift for this Falcons team. I tell you, in a playoff situation on the road, you've got to have your guys step up and make the big plays, and Quentin McCord with a great opportunity right there.
Under a half a minute remaining. And Vick going underneath, and it's caught by Brian Finneran, and the first catch of the game for the former Philadelphia Eagle free agent. And the clock stops with 16 seconds to go. And the Falcons call their third and final timeout.
Their third and final timeout. A 30-second timeout.
Pickup of 16, and Dan Reeves' Falcons on the Eagle 37-yard line.
You can see the different choices of where Mike Vick's going to throw. They do call a lot of bootlegs and movements, but this evening the majority of his pass is coming from within the pocket, and that's what he wants to be known as. He doesn't want to be known as a scrambling quarterback. He wants to be known as a good pocket passer, and he grew up watching some of the best. He's a big football fan, and Joe Montana and Troy Aikman and the guys that he admired growing up. He wants to be like they were when they throw from the pocket.
And that's what Dan Reeves says. He wants teams to say, I worry about Mike Vick as a pocket passer, not just as a guy that can run the ball. Okay, 16 seconds to go. You want to at least try to get it close enough for possibly another field goal try.
Well, with 16 seconds left, you do not have enough time to run your field goal team on the field and attempt a field goal. So the one thing that the Atlanta Falcons can't do is throw the ball into the middle of the field because they don't have any more timeouts to stop the clock. So Philadelphia in this situation has to guard the sideline. You take some shots on the sideline to see if you can advance it down inside Jay Feely's range, and then maybe take one shot into the end zone before you come out and try and kick a field goal.
Gaylor lines up wide to the right. Finneran to the left, and McCord is in the slot to the left, and the fourth wide receiver out there as well is Algie Crumpler, and here is Vick, and Vick has the pass tipped from behind as he tried to get it over to Crumpler, and it was Bobby Taylor coming up from the cornerback position.
Well, we have talked about his composure all night long. Right now, Mike Vick losing a little bit of that composure. Philadelphia bringing the house from the left side. I think he felt as though that Bobby Taylor tried to take him to the ground after the ball had been released. There's the hit. I don't think Mike Vick has a problem with the hit, but Bobby Taylor remains around his waist and tries to take him to the ground.
11 seconds on the clock. 2nd and 10 from the 37. And there is Vick stepping up. And Vick completing a pass, and Crumpler will go out of bounds at the 35-yard line. And so Feely will come in to try a long field goal with 4 seconds remaining in the half.
Well, we've talked about the wind here this evening and the effect that it's had on the temperature, and that wind is blowing in the direction that Jay Feely needs it to be right now. It will be at his back if it is anywhere.
52-yard attempt, his career long 55. The punter, Chris Moore, is the holder. He's got the wind at his back. The 52-yard field goal attempt by Feely, and the kick is good as time runs out. So the Atlanta Falcons coming back from the initial blow and a 13-0 deficit trail at halftime, 13-6.
The Visa Halftime Report is brought to you by Visa. It's everywhere NFL fans want to be.
Philadelphia Eagles with 3 Pro Bowlers in the secondary. One of them shining here, Bobby Taylor. Picking off Mike Vick, taking it to the house for the score. Philadelphia on top 13-6 at the half as we welcome you to the Visa Halftime here in Los Angeles, California, Studio 2A. Full house as we get you set to talk about the first half of this game between Atlanta and the Philadelphia Eagles. And my goodness, just as Terry Bradshaw said, Donovan McNabb, rusty. Didn't have anybody to throw to.
Been out 2 months.
Oh, been out 2 months. 10 of 14.
I said all that.
117 yards, 2 rushes, Jimmy.
Hey, he is not rusty, and Atlanta's not protecting Vick. You know, he's getting hit all over the place and getting sacked on and on and on, and they're having penalties, and yet they're still in this game. How are they in this game?
Character, Jimmy, character. KFC, when you talk about the controversial call, the wild and woolly playoffs continue. Controversial call at the end of the game, Bill Cowher upset. Hey, Ron Blum, 18th year in the NFL, questioning whether a play should be called or replayed.
Now, since we're talking about that, let's show you the highlights on that game. Pittsburgh and Tennessee. That was the game earlier. Tennessee with the right to move on to the AFC Championship.
Well, I wasn't rusty right here. Eddie George hit by Casey Hampton. Ball recovered by Aaron Smith as he fumbled the ball. Of course, out of the game with a concussion. That's Eddie George. And then back comes Matt Hines Ward. 21-yard touchdown. Great effort by Ward. It's 28-all. Then we go here. Watch this. Overtime. Joe Netney misses the 31-yarder. This is why Jimmy cut him in Miami. Couldn't get it done. But Dwayne Washington is called for running it to the kicker. Netney gets a second chance. Down the middle it goes. 26-yard field goal. Hello, Tennessee. Moving on down the pipe. As you can see, Bill Cowher extremely upset with the call after the game. 34-31. That's your final.
And speaking of how upset was he after the game, Bill Cowher expressed his thoughts about the call.
I saw a kicker who had kicked the ball, had taken a couple of steps, and Dwayne, sliding on the ground, fell into him. For a game to be decided on that call is ludicrous. And for me to have to explain to an official what's reviewable and what's not, that's wrong. Fine me if you want. That's the truth.
When Eddie went down today with the concussion, you guys went strictly to the passing game today, Steve. Did you have confidence that you could just air it out the way your name implies, that you could go out and beat this team?
Well, you know, they didn't stop us at all in the empty set. We made a couple mistakes. When Eddie went out, you know, we got a lot of quick guys in Robert and the other guys. So we just came out ready to play, and we knew we could pass the ball on them. We were just a matter of how well can we protect, and we protected well.
Thanks, Steve. Good luck to you. JB, back to you.
All right, Brian, Tennessee collectively with a chip on its shoulder.
Well, you know, the referee that he's referring to, Ron Blum, is in his 18th year. For those of you keeping score at home, his other vocation is professional golfer.
Understand.
Just something
And
to throw out
Netney
there.
did not take extra steps. I don't know what he saw.
Steve McNair with a very impressive game. Some of you will go to local news. Others will come back here for an NFC's preview.
Halftime halftime with the Eagles leading the Falcons 13-6, and it is our honor and pleasure to have with us Michael Waltrip up here in the booth. You know, we're getting close to the Great American Race, and I guess Fox and Daytona have been very fortunate for you, and we have been fortunate to have you drive.
Well, it's been great. My brother Daryl does the commentating with the guys on Fox, and he's called both of my victories in Winston Cup racing, and they both came at Daytona. So I get a little bit of a bounce in my step when it's time to go to Florida.
Well, halfway through testing, you've got the third fastest time. How do you feel about going into qualifying, and then the second half of the guys are going to go in for testing?
I'm just overly optimistic about our chances. I mean, I think we can win the Daytona 500. Our test went great. I've got a great team. Slugger and all the boys work real hard to make the Napa Chevy the fastest car, and I believe when it comes time to qualify and race the race, we'll be the team you'll have to beat.
What about the restrictor plate racing? Daytona races that style, and your team seems to have a lot of success at the venues that use the restrictor plates.
Engineering and research and just trying to figure out any advantage is so critical to make your car as good as it can possibly be when you're restricted, because any little tweak of the sheet metal or turn of a screw here or there makes a big difference, because you don't have all that horsepower to push you through the wind. My team just does a great job of getting those cars ready to race at those places.
You know, Mike, you're 6'5", and you told me you play a little basketball, but I think you went into the right sport. How do you get into that window being so big?
Well, I squeeze in there pretty good. When I was, John Madden says that Mike Vick never was it when he played tag, but when I was a kid, I was always it. So I said, I need me a race car, and my brother won 3 Winston Cup championships and a bunch of races, and it's been something I've really been blessed to be talented enough to make a career of.
And you came here to see Mike Vick play, but you're amongst Eagle fans. How do you handle that?
There's passion in those grandstands. I'm not kidding you. We're standing there, and every time Atlanta does something, I just sit on my hands, and I'm cheering for Philadelphia. But I watched Mike Vick run over Green Bay last week in Lambeau, and I came to see the same thing, but really impressed with the pressure that Philadelphia's put on him. He can't go anywhere hardly.
Great to have you with us. Michael Waltrip, who won Fox's first race, the 2001 Daytona 500, and Fox's last race, the 2002 Pepsi 400, and the big Great American Race coming up in February. 15 great weeks of NASCAR. Second half kickoff is underway, and the Eagles return, and it is their short man who brings it up, and it is Brandon Whiting, and Philadelphia will have good field position as they start from the 42-yard line here in the second half. So 13-6. 2 field goals by Jay Feely, including a 52-yard field goal as time ran out, and helped, of course, by the win.
Well, one of the things that the Philadelphia Eagles have to do as they start this second half, they have got to test the Atlanta Falcons secondary. They have lost 2 players from their secondary, Jerome Bolden and Keon Carpenter, going out, yet they have not pressured them down the football field. They're only 1 play away from being tied up right now, and you don't want to be there when Mike Vick is the quarterback on the opposite side.
And Donovan McNabb throwing on first down, and wide open is the fullback Cecil Martin, and he is hit hard and picking up 5 yards as we take a look at the first half numbers, Darryl.
Well, the points off the turnovers, the big part of that first half. Bobby Taylor with the interception, and he takes it back for a touchdown. But look what happens the remainder of that half. The Atlanta Falcons actually with more total yards and the time of possession lead, and they have got to do something to jumpstart this offense, and that's the reason you don't leave your feet on the football field. Chris Draft comes over, puts a big hit on Cecil Martin.
Ray Buchanan for Bolden at cornerback, and John Dale Carty for Keon Carpenter at safety, and here is Deuce Staley off the left side, and Staley is tackled at midfield, picking up 3 yards. And bringing up 3rd down and 2, Keith Brooking on the tackle.
And you see right there by the graphic, Donovan McNabb, most of his yards coming on the right side. He is right-handed. When the play breaks down, he will move in that direction. And he showed no signs of that 2-month layoff in the first half. Came off the sideline to start the football game and had a great half. Never seemed to struggle at all.
Completed 11 of 15. Pretty good percentage for 122 yards. 3rd down and 2. Eagles at midfield, first possession of the second half, rolling out to his right, and the jump pass, and it's knocked away, trying to get it to Pinkston, and well covered by the Falcons. And 4th down coming up. So no complaints with the way Wade Phillips is calling the defense. The Eagle offense has not generated a touchdown yet.
No, and I agree with what Howie Long talked about in the pregame show. You know, you have to look at Wade Phillips as the second MVP of this football team. He's done a great job of getting this defense in a position to make plays, and his philosophy tonight of pressuring Donovan McNabb and forcing him to move, paying off.
Sean Landetta out for the year, and Lee Johnson, the third kicker that the Eagles have used. This kick will go out of bounds inside the 20. So the Falcons holding the Eagles, who had good field position, will try to come back, trailing by 7.
The NFC Divisional Playoffs on Fox are brought to you by the all-new Accord from Honda. It's more Accord than ever.
The Port of Philadelphia, and right now the Philadelphia 76ers relying on their defense. They had a 13-0 lead. It's been cut to 7, and the Falcons giving it to Warrick Dunn, starting from the 18-yard line. Dunn gained 40 yards and 9 carries in the first half. He gets 3 on first down right here.
The Atlanta Falcons weathering the storm that started this football games with mistakes and poor field position, getting that field goal late at the end of the first half as time expired. Now with the football here, we'll see if they can continue to keep that momentum after their defense came out and made their initial stop.
76ers played last night. Eagles playing this night. Second down and 7, and Dunn. Warrick Dunn will be short by about 3 yards. Brandon Whiting making the tackle after picking up 4. And let's go down to Ron Pitts for a report.
Guys, I caught up with both coaches at halftime. Andy Reid said, hey, we started off hot, but we need more points in this. We're making some mistakes. We got to get back into our groove on the other side of the ball. Dan Reeves said, listen, we're moving the ball. We got a great time of possession. We got to start getting touchdowns and not field goals. And we got to do a better job of handling the pressure on Michael Vick. Dick?
All right, no one offense has scored a touchdown in this game. 3rd down and 3. 2 tight ends. And Mike Vick stepping back, being chased from behind. Down he goes. Couldn't get away from Darwin Walker, who was rejected by the Arizona Cardinals several years ago and has signed a contract extension. That is the 3rd sack for the Eagle defense and a loss for Vick of 11 yards.
You see number 97, Darwin Walker, just relentless on his pass rush. He gets pushed by the pocket, gets back in, and finishes the play. And that's what Jim Johnson wanted all of his guys in that defensive front to do. You can't give up. This guy extends plays and makes things happen.
Chris Moore will kick from inside the 5. And Brian Mitchell with a chance for a big return at the 45, but the Falcons are there, and George Lane makes the quick tackle, but the Eagles will start their next possession in Falcon territory. Back at Veterans Stadium, the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series is coming live and exclusively to Speed Channel. First race kicks off on Speed Channel amid over 50 hours of live coverage from Daytona Speed Weeks leading up to the Daytona 500 right here on Fox. First down at the 42-yard line, and here's Pinkston who can't hold on. Todd Pinkston has had a few in and out of his hands tonight, defended well, however, by Ashley Ambrose.
Well, I tell you what, the good thing about it is, though, they took a shot down the football field. They tested the Falcons secondary, and you pointed out, Dick, Todd Pinkston has got to make that catch. I mean, this is a tight game right now. Everything is laying in the balance. Somebody's got to step up and make a play to try and create an opportunity.
Eagles leading by a touchdown. Bobby Taylor returning an interception for a score in the first quarter. Falcons defense has been porous in the second half, and this pass overthrown intended for Brian Westbrook as McNabb takes a shot.
Wade Phillips continuing to pressure Donovan McNabb, and they had Brian Westbrook split outside. And when they empty that backfield, they're going to bring everybody on the blitz.
Eagles protecting the quarterback very well in the last half of the season, and once again, McNabb not only has not been sacked, no turnovers, and this is exactly the script followed by Mike Vick last week for the Falcons in Green Bay.
Donovan McNabb having the air-free night tonight, and his offensive line doing a great job of giving him time to throw.
Dorsey Levens, who split to the left as a receiver, empty backfield, and McNabb goes down. down, and it is Keith Brooking with the sack and the first of the game for the Atlanta Falcons.
Keith Brooking is right over the center. He's directing traffic, but here he comes. Hank Fraley turns. There's a blown assignment and protection right there because he just comes right up the middle. He's directing everybody where to go. Then when he decides to blitz, they've turned their protection away, and I think we jinxed Donovan McNabb where they're talking about not being sacked up until that point.
And a loss of 11 yards, so the good field position for the Eagles dissolves, and Lee Johnson will be punting. Allen Rawson going back deep. And nearly blocked, and the punter goes down, and the late flag is thrown, and this kick will be saved in the field, but there's a penalty marker back behind the line of scrimmage, and the Eagles claiming that the Falcons had possession and lost it and have the ball. And they do. The Eagles recover at the 1.
Well, the flag should be for running into the kicker on Ernie Ulmer, number 50, but they're going to decline that penalty and take the football. I can't believe somebody from the Atlanta Falcons was down in that area as the Eagles tried to bat the ball back into play to down it.
And we saw Damian Douglas running with the football held high, apparently recovering that fumble.
I think the field judge just signaled that the player who tried to bat the ball back might have stepped on the end line, so that would be a touchback.
This is a critical call in this game.
There's the personal foul, roughing the kicker, not running into the kicker, so we got that one sorted out. But now let's go back. I think I saw the official, the field judge, signal that the person who tried to down the ball actually stepped on the end line, which would account for a touchback. So this will not be Philadelphia's ball inside the 5, but they'll get the first down on the roughing the kicker.
The ball was illegally touched by the kicking team here. However, there was a personal foul, roughing the kicker on the defense. 15 yards, automatic, first down.
Well, that roughing the kicker, Atlanta Falcons, considering what could have happened down at the goal line.
That's a little bit more of running into the kicker than roughing, but here's the other end of the field. You can see his foot is down right there, but it looks as though he had batted the ball back. He didn't have possession. Sheldon Brown did not have possession when his foot hit the end line. Let's see. It's the right foot coming down. Dan Reeves frustrated with that call. It seems like nothing is going the Falcons' way this evening.
Well, the Eagles will get possession and the first down. So Atlanta, 6 penalties, 65 yards. You know, looking the way this game's gone, hard to believe the Falcons only 7 points down at this rate.
Well, they're giving the Eagles every opportunity, but they're just not taking advantage of it. They started to drive in a similar position last time they had the ball and ended up punting. Fortunate to get that roughing the kicker, and now they've got another shot.
And once the Eagles touched the ball, the Atlanta Falcons could not have lost possession on the fumble. So once Brown touched it, it could not be a fumble, but the Eagles now inside the Falcon 40-yard line.
There was an illegal touch on the play, recovered by the kicking team. However, the unnecessary roughness, roughing the kicker, negated it. First down.
I think the big point, what you make, Dick, is with the touch by Sheldon Brown on that play, the Philadelphia Eagles would not have been able to recover the fumble because it wouldn't have mattered if it had touched the Atlanta player. So this is as good as it can come out for the Philadelphia Eagles.
Dan Reeves very upset on the sideline. Chad Lewis going in motion. Deuce Staley on the handoff. And Matt Stewart, the outside linebacker, limits Staley to a gain of 3 yards.
I don't know how much longer this Falcons defense is going to be able to keep Philadelphia from getting points with the field position that they have had in the second half. Wade Phillips has done a tremendous job tonight with his group, continuing to keep Donovan McNabb uncomfortable in the pocket.
2nd and 6, so the sack a few minutes ago. Insignificant as Chad Lewis on the outside picking up the first down on that toss from Donovan McNabb, picking up 7 yards. Gerald McBurrows making the tackle on Lewis.
You see Chad Lewis just drifting into the flat area, and with all the injuries in the secondary that the Falcons had in the first half, that is the area that this offense needs to try and start to make plays in. The front 7 is intact. Everybody's healthy, but that secondary has lost 2 of its starters.
Jerron Bolden with a ruptured patella tendon of the right knee. Keon Carpenter, x-rays on his spine were negative, both lost for the game. And here on first down, McNabb has a lot of time, and the pass incomplete. Pinkston claiming he was knocked down. No flag coming. Ambrose defending on the play, and the crowd not appreciating that no call. Well, some Joe's going to be a millionaire, I guess.
You got a lot of people chasing behind him. The Eagles fans upset, but I think Donovan McNabb short hopped that ball into Todd Pinkston, so I don't think it was a catchable pass.
2nd and 10 on the 27 of the Falcons. Already in David Akers' field goal range. Here's Deuce Staley with Martin blocking in front. And Staley finally knocked down at the 21-yard line. 3-yard pickup. Brooking and McBurrows in on the play. Under 9 minutes to go here in the 3rd quarter. It is really surprising that the Atlanta Falcons, who are so thin in the secondary, they started that way with Buchanan injured and not starting, coming in as the 3rd cornerback, and now losing 2 other players. And yet it looks as if the Eagles have been content to run the ball and pass underneath.
And I think that's why this crowd has been so quiet. You remember how raucous they were in the first half. They have had very little to cheer about since that opening 5 minutes.
3rd and 7. McNabb. And the ball is jarred loose, and the Eagles may have recovered. Patrick Kearney coming in and knocking the ball away from McNabb, but a loss of 6 yards, and it is 4th down.
Well, the one thing you don't want to do on a 3rd down in this situation is take the sack. Donovan McNabb very fortunate to have one of his guys get this football back, but they were inside David Akers' range rather comfortably, but now this will be a little bit more of a stretch as he's lining up for a 51-yard field goal right now.
Akers has been successful from 34 and 39 yards, so this is pretty close to his career long distance of 53. The 51-yard field goal is long enough, and it is no good as it hits the upright and bounces onto the field, and Wade Phillips now feeling that maybe the momentum going back to the Atlanta Falcons, who dodge another tough situation. Right off the upright, and the score remains 13-6. Missed field goal by Akers, and the Falcons hanging in there in this game with 7:43 remaining in the 3rd, trailing 13-6 on first down. Here is Vick being chased by Kalu, and he completes to Trevor Gaylor, and Gaylor with a first down into Philadelphia territory. The tackle by Brian Dawkins, picking up 12 yards. And of course, everyone in the football world and the sports world mourning the loss of one of the great sports reporters and sports writers, Will McDonough, who passed away at the age of 67. Had the greatest of all contacts. Everyone went to Will McDonough when they wanted to find out who to call, and everyone is going to miss Will McDonough, who for 40 years wrote brilliantly for the Boston Globe. And following his blocking is Vick, who picks up 8 yards on the play.
And that's the one thing that Jim Johnson did not want to see tonight. Yet, several occasions, the Philadelphia Eagles defense allowing Mike Vick to scramble to his left and make plays down the football field. Even when they've got him wrapped up in the middle of the field, he maneuvers to the left. Whether he's throwing or he's running, he's at his most dangerous when he moves to his left.
Hey, he's gained 34 yards on the ground. Jim Johnson says that's the limit. We can hold him to 34 and 120 passing. We should win the game. And here is Vic. And this pass, incomplete. Flag is down. Trying to get it to Warwick Dunn. The Eagles have been penalized only once in this game. And this will be a personal foul against the Falcons. So they can't get out of their own way in the penalty department in this one. And they'll afford that against this team.
Personal foul, leg whip, number 38 of the offense. 15-yard penalty, remains second down.
That's the fullback, George Lane, who's moved into the starting fullback spot with Bob Christian out for the rest of the year with a concussion.
And there he is at the bottom of your screen. He goes to cut N.D. Kalu, and when he gets a little bit too low, your natural reaction as a blocker is to throw that leg up. You've got to come through, put your shoulder through his thigh pad. And time again in the NFL, these defensive linemen are so athletic that if you go down low, they just push you into the turf, hop over you, and start chasing the quarterback.
Playing into the hands of the Eagle defense, second and long, back on their 44. And Vic up the middle, and Crumpler with the reception and a first down. Algie Crumpler. And it was the intention of Dan Reeves to use the big tight end the way the Giants used Jeremy Shockey against the Eagles in that final regular season game.
And with Barry Gardner in the lineup, the matchup that the Eagles want, yet Algie Crumpler is able to find that open lane. You see Barry Gardner, number 52, coming in there late. But this is the guy that Jim Johnson and the defense were worried about getting downfield in situations.
Gain of 25. Falcons with a first down on the Eagles 31. Here's Warwick Dunn following his blocking and runs head on into Blaine Bishop.
You take a look at that crowd right there. There's nobody standing up and cheering. You're starting to see some expressions of concern on the fans here in the vet because this team has just not played well since the first 5 or 6 minutes of the game.
No, they haven't, and Andy Reid has to be concerned. And while this crowd could be very, very loud and a big asset for the Eagles, they get quiet in a hurry as well, as we've seen. Second and 7. Vick remains very calm despite the early adversity in this game, and this pass completed to Dunn underneath, shy of the first down by a couple of yards, and it's Brandon Whiting making the tackle with 5 minutes to go in the third.
And this is why you can't use a contained pass rush against Mike Vick, because he has the ability to stand in the pocket, find his open receivers, and deliver the football. And he's getting to the point that Dan Reeves would like to see him, and that's where people start to respect his arm as much as they do his legs and worry about what he can do down the field throwing the ball.
Third down and 2. Falcons on the Eagle 23. Getting protection this time, and Vick's pass, and it's Gaylor who manages to make the reception and get the first down before going out of bounds.
They're sending everybody down the field, but Mike Vick being very patient, checking the ball down to his underneath receivers, allowing them to make some catches and run after the catch. And well, right now, this is just a different Philadelphia defense than we have seen. And I did not expect them to put this little pressure on them. I know that Jim Johnson worries about scrambling quarterbacks and their ability to break plays, or if you've got that big running back. But right now, they're being very passive.
They put on the pressure early, but now they seem to have leveled off. And this Atlanta Falcon team, feeling that they have nothing to lose, they're playing with the house's money, and they have certainly come back after a rocky beginning. First down, and here is Vick throwing the pass away, and well covered was Brian Finneran by a group of Eagles, including Troy Vincent. And Vick slowly getting up.
He took a shot from Paul Grassmanis, and they have gotten to Mike Vick all night long. And last week in Green Bay, he was knocked sacked one time. He was able to extend plays and convert third downs. But you can see we've seen him on several occasions get up, shaking a hand, trying to shrug off a hit by the defenders.
Knocked out in the first Tampa Bay game back in October with a sprained right shoulder. The only game he missed was the game against the Giants. Second down and 10, and Vick all of a sudden turns it on to the 10, to the 5, and a flag is down, and Vick getting in for the touchdown, but there's a penalty marker down. And Vick shaken up. As we said, the only game he missed this year was against the Giants, and he was crunched as he crossed the goal line.
We've got a Philadelphia Eagle down also inside the 5.
And holding called against the Falcons, and Dan Reeves is going wild now. That will nullify the score.
Offense number 71. 10 yards still second down.
Holding penalty against Travis Claridge, the left guard, nullifying the touchdown.
Travis Claridge, number 71, the left guard, working against Darwin Walker. He beats him quick. You can see he's got his arms wrapped all the way around him. A good call by the officials, but now Mike Vick has nothing but open real estate in front of him.
Ryan Dawkins coming out of nowhere with the hit, and he is shaken up, as is Mike Vick. That was a ferocious hit by Brian Dawkins, and Doug Johnson, who was the quarterback in the Falcons' victory over the Giants, begins to loosen up.
Well, watch him just come into the screen from the left side. Boy, he just comes in at 100 miles an hour. Puts a shot right on Mike Vick's ribs. I did not even see Brian Dawkins in the picture. He just comes all the way across the field. Look at him explode into Mike Vick. Hits him at full speed.
And this is reminiscent to the hit that Dawkins put on Ike Hilliard of the Giants. Dawkins ultimately was fined $50,000 as the officials ruled it was helmet to helmet. So Vick coming out for one play, and Doug Johnson, the quarterback, on 2nd and 20, out of the shotgun with an empty backfield. Ice cold, Doug Johnson completes the pass to Brian Finneran, and the former Eagle from Villanova University gets down to the 16-yard line. Michael Lewis, the rookie safety, on the tackle, and Vick now returns to the game. He had to be out for one play.
What a great job by Doug Johnson. Just popping up off the bench, come in, make a nice completion, puts your quarterback back in the game with an opportunity to move the chains. I'm so impressed. I mean, all season long, we have seen backup quarterbacks come in, you know, whether it's for a play like that by Doug Johnson or for an extended period of time, just do a great job of filling in.
And Lewis filling in right now for the injured Brian Dawkins at free safety. 3rd down and 6, and the flip, and Warwick Dunn going back to Michael Vick, escapes a couple, and Michael Vick is going to go out of bounds. Vick was not about to challenge any more green jerseys after getting hit hard by Dawkins a few moments ago. He's got to still be woozy, you think.
Oh yeah, back at Virginia Tech, Michael Vick was an option quarterback. He needed to push that one a little bit farther to make that defender make a decision, but I agree with you right here, Dick. Live to play another play. Get out of bounds. Bobby Taylor's not going to let you by. You got 9 other guys coming across the field in pursuit.
So Jay Feely will try a 37-yard field goal. He is 2 for 2, including a 52-yard field goal as time ran out in the first half. And Feely's kick way off to the right. So Feely made the tough one, but you got to remember going into the wind on that field goal attempt. This is a 37-yard attempt, and the Eagles maintain a 13-6 advantage.
The NFC Divisional Playoffs are brought to you by Southwest Airlines, proud sponsor of the NFL and official airline of Super Bowl 37. By Lay's and Pepsi. It's not whether you win or lose, it's how you watch the game. By Warner Brothers' new motion picture, Cradle to the Grave. In theaters Friday, February 28th. This film is not yet rated. And by Zocor. Talk to your doctor about Zocor today.
Well, hippies meet South Street. South Street as the song goes, and the Philadelphia Eagles clinging to that touchdown lead. Donovan McNabb going up the middle to Deuce Staley, and Staley picking up a few extra yards. Good effort by Deuce Staley, picked up at least 6 more, and winds up with 19 and a first down for the Eagles at the 46.
Well, more special teams miscue. Chris Moore, the holder. We saw Jay Feely push that field goal attempt wide to the right, but watch the ball slide as he puts it down. Still sliding as he comes through on the kick. That's why that ball was pushed wide to the right. I tell you what, it's something you take for granted, something that you should be able to execute at this level, but you never know what's going to happen. And that, I mean, you saw it last week in the Giant Niner game.
Automatic.
No, it never is.
Eagles first down. Yet to see an offensive touchdown in this game, and there's the screen to Staley. Staley getting by one defender and diving for the first down. Buchanan on his legs, and a Falcon is shaken up back at the 35-yard line with under a minute and a half to go in the third quarter, and it's John Theory, the pass rushing specialist, who comes in, an outside linebacker, and he is injured. Falcons have already lost 2 members of their secondary in Jerron Bolden and Keon Carpenter. And now Theory is shaken up.
John Theory, the linebacker they bring in, has a pass rush specialist. He'll come in and take the place of Matt Stewart in that defensive front.
And actually, Theory started last week's game against the Green Bay Packers because they wanted to have the pass rusher in there. So they're working on Theory, and we'll take a break here at Veterans Stadium. 13-6, the Eagles. That's John Theory, and he was stunned as he came off the field, and still may be sitting on the bench.
Boy, he took a knee to the head by Travis Hall, and I'll tell you what, you get hit in the side of the head, someone's going to hop over you, all of a sudden the lights go out for a few seconds.
Eagles first down on the Falcon 42, and here's Deuce Staley, who's hit at the 40-yard line. Travis Hall with a 2-yard gain by Deuce Staley.
John Theory at the top of the screen on the left. 98, Travis Hall will be the guy who goes to hop over him. Now watch right there as he goes to leap over John Theory. He knees him right in the side of the head. And somebody's calling, but nobody's answering at number 55's house.
On this drive, McNabb has thrown 2 passes to his running back, Deuce Staley, for 19 and then 12 yards. Ran him the last time, and now McNabb downfield and trying to get it to Thrash, and the pass nowhere near him. And 32 seconds remain as 3rd down and 8 coming up now for the Eagles. And the Falcons and Wade Phillips have done a terrific job defensively. The only touchdown in the game was Bobby Taylor's interception in the first quarter, return for 39 yards and a touchdown on a pass from Mike Vick.
This game becoming very reminiscent of the Giant Eagle season finale, where Philadelphia scored on their opening drive and then hung on. The game got tight in the fourth quarter. They ended up losing in overtime.
The Atlanta Falcons continue to stay in town. Donovan McNabb on the screen to Dorsey Levens. Levens, big play. A flag is down back at the 40. Dorsey Levens, former Packer, gets the first down, but that will be nullified. Holding called against the Eagles. And they have not been penalized much tonight. But this is a critical one.
Holding offense number 76. 10 yards remains. 3rd down.
John Welburn, the left guard. That's only the 2nd penalty called against Philadelphia. Third down and 18. We'll talk about critical penalties, Darryl, instead of a first down. 3rd down and 18 and the ball back at midfield.
Well, we saw the Atlanta Falcons continually shoot themselves in the foot in the first quarter. Now Philadelphia picking up where they left off here in the third quarter. Had great field position this entire quarter and haven't been able to do anything with it.
And time running out out in this third quarter. Here is Donovan McNabb, and the pass wide open, Cecil Martin, and he'll be tackled at the 37-yard line as time runs out in the third quarter. The Eagles will not get the first down as we go to the fourth. Philadelphia 13, Atlanta 6 as we go to the fourth period. Fourth quarter, and the Eagles will kick it away, and if they are trying to field goal, it would be into the wind, so they missed that opportunity there. But I'll tell you what, you made a point about how this game, eerily for the Eagles, similar to that Giant overtime game when the Giants kept shooting themselves in the foot, yet hung in there in the game and finally won in overtime. And Philadelphia can't be comfortable with a 7-point lead at this point.
Not when you got Michael Vick as the quarterback on the other football team, and they just continually have opportunities to kind of take advantage of this football game and haven't been able to do so yet.
Allen Rawson will let it bounce, and the Eagles all around the ball will down it inside the 5-yard line. Well, more NFC Divisional Playoff action comes your way tomorrow at noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific, right here on Fox. The 49ers getting a life, coming back from 38-14 to win that one-point game against the Giants last week against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who got the bye. How do you figure that one?
Well, that's going to be a good football game, and the way you beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and Philadelphia has been able to do it the last few times they played, is run the ball right at them. And with Garrison Hurst and Kevin Barlow, that needs to be the approach for the San Francisco 49ers.
And don't forget Terrell Owens, always a big factor. He's a big game receiver. Ryan Dawkins, who got knocked out of the game on the last defensive sequence, has returned to the lineup for the Eagles. 1st and 10, and Vick faking to McNabb, completing to Algie Crumpler, and Crumpler getting it out close to the first down with Bobby Taylor making the tackle. So Mike Vick getting out of danger a lot better in the second half, Moose.
And I think a little bit is Jim Johnson seems to have backed off in his pressure package, and really no reason. They were very successful in the first half, but it goes back to what we were talking about. The longer you let Atlanta stay close and only be one play away, these guys are playing with a tremendous amount of confidence. They should not be in this football game right now. They've hung around. They've got nothing to lose.
And the Eagle defense has let up some from the pressure that they exhibited early in the game. First down on the 17, and the handoff, and an ill-fated handoff as Warwick Dunn is tackled as he gets the ball by Paul Grassmanis and loses 5.
Paul Grassmanis, one of the guys in that tackle rotation, and it looks like just another missed blocking assignment. He comes scot-free from the defensive tackle position. It looks like we had linemen pulling both directions. Keenan Forney pulling to his left, and Travis Claridge pulling to his right. We almost had a head-on collision right in the backfield.
And Warwick Dunn may be shaken up. Warwick Dunn now down.
Well, it's just unbelievable for the Atlanta Falcons, the number of players that have gotten hurt this evening in this football game, and the severity of the injury, and a lot of these guys haven't been able to come back into the football game.
Dunn is going to leave, and T.J. Duckett, who has had injury problems of his own this year with the foot and knee problems, finally was healthy last week and had an impressive game against the Green Bay Packers with 45 yards gained and scoring a touchdown. But now the Falcons are backed up. 2nd down and 15 on their own 12. And Vick stepping up and flips it up the middle to Duckett. T.J. Duckett, the big running back, and Duckett will get the first down. So a good 1-2 punch that Dan Reeves has with a healthy Duckett and Warwick Dunn, who right now is not healthy and out of the game. An 18-yard gain on the shuffle pass up the middle, so to speak.
Mike Vick is just such a heady guy for making only a second playoff start. And T.J. Duckett, now this is your big physical between the tackle runners, showing a little bit of a burst right there. You don't want to let number 45 get going downhill.
Falcons have it up to the 30-yard line early here in the fourth quarter. And they go to the big back again. And Duckett diving forward to the 36, picking up 6 yards.
The stadium has gotten quiet. The excitement on the Philadelphia Eagles sideline is not there anymore. Before kickoff, these guys jumping around.
Well, as you pointed out, this is just the first step for the Philadelphia Eagles. They have made great strides every year. 2 11-5 seasons, 12-4 last year. The Eagles got to the championship game, had the lead against the Rams. This year, it's Super Bowl or a fizzled season as far as they're concerned. Clinging to a 7-point lead on 2nd and 4. The pass dropped by Crumpler. Might be the easiest pass he had thrown to him all day.
I think that Algie Crumpler has the best hands on the Atlanta Falcons football team. I'll put him up against any one of the wide receivers. He does the right thing on the hot route. He lets the blitzer go by, gets his head around quick to the quarterback, just hits him right in the hands and drops it.
Looking at the breakdown of the Falcons' third down conversions.
They've been very effective all night long at all the distances, whether it's short, medium, or long.
And Warwick Dunn back into the game for Atlanta. 3rd down and 4 on the 36. And here is Vick, and this pass dropped by Finneran. Finneran would have had the first down had he held on, and no defender close to him. So 4th down coming up, and the Falcons will have to kick.
2 critical drops by Algie Crumpler, and on the next play, Brian Finneran. Enough yardage by both of those guys to convert the first downs. You see Brian Finneran right there, releases to the flat. Then a nice little pick where Troy Vincent can't get there in time. He slips, is unable to make the catch, and now the Falcons are punting.
Chris Moore kicking it away. Brian Mitchell. Fair catch by Mitchell at the 25. 13-6. We have not had an offensive touchdown in this NFC Divisional playoff. Back in chilly Philadelphia, Dick Stockton along with Darrell Johnston and Ron Pitts. 12:08 remaining in the fourth. Our game today produced by Bob Stenner and directed by Sandy Grossman. Eagles with a first down on their 25, leading 13-6. Donovan McNabb, his first appearance in 8 weeks, taking off and will be corralled by Keith Brooking after picking up 3 yards on the play. McNabb ran for 19 yards in the first quarter to prove he was able to run a bit. Got hit a couple of times, but in the first half was pretty sharp in the passing department, but the offenses have just fizzled on both sides here in the second half.
They really have. Neither side able to generate any type of consistent offense, and both teams affording opportunity after opportunity for each other to be successful, but nobody at this point really wants to reach out and take this game. It's been hanging in the balance now for almost 30 minutes.
Yeah, and since they're not playing solitaire, you'd have to say that the defenses have really held the fort in this game. 2nd down and 7. And on the reverse, here is Thrash. Gets away from one defender and then is decked. And it is Sam Rogers who makes the play, and Thrash loses 5. And the crowd are not at all pleased with the Eagles' offense at this point, with some boos emanating.
93 Sam Rogers, the top of your screen, does a nice job of doing his responsibility in that defense. He does not chase the play going away from him, puts himself in great position to get James Thrash as he comes around on the reverse. Philadelphia, on the other hand, has struggled in their third downs. Now you look, this one being in that 3rd and 7+ area at 3rd and 14. They are 0 for 5 at this point.
And there is the screen pass to Dorsey Levens, and Levens gets the first down, so they finally convert. A long 3rd down situation, picking up 17 yards on the screen. First down, Eagles close to the 40.
It was funny talking to Keith Brooking. The guy that he was worried about more than Deuce Staley was Dorsey Levens. He felt that being a big back, he was still nifty and had the moves to do a lot of things that Andy Reid asks the running backs to do in this offense and converts a critical third down right there on the screen.
And you remember, Moose, that Carell Buchalter went out with an injury during the mini camps, lost their best ball carrier, and then they acquired Dorsey Levens, and along with Westbrook and Deuce Staley, who had a big year, really made up for the loss of that. They give to Levens, and Levens stopped for no gain in the middle, bringing up second down and 10. These are a pesky Falcons team out there. The way it was looking at 13-0 in the second quarter, this game had signs of a blowout considering how effective the Eagle defense is all season long, but they have hung in there. There you see how the yardage story has gone, and Atlanta right now has the edge over the Eagles.
Atlanta, one of the better teams in the NFL, at controlling the clock, and one of the top teams in the NFL in time of possession, and that's the case this evening.
Third in the league in that department. Second down and 10. McNabb up the middle, and the pass is caught by Staley and hit immediately, leaving him 4 yards short of the first down. Chris Draft was all over Deuce Staley. So third down and 4 as Brian Westbrook coming into the game. David Akers with a mid-game snack, but he's getting some heat over there, and he
doesn't look like he's doing too good.
Maybe bothered by something. This is a war of attrition we're seeing, mostly on the part of the Falcons. Third down and 4, and the screen going out to Brian Westbrook. He's got that speed factor, which is why he was picked on the third round from Villanova, and he adds that dimension to the Eagles. Gets 13 yards, mostly on the run after the screen pass, and a first down into Atlanta territory.
Again, it's part of this multiple offense that Andy Reid and Brad Childress run, where you've got to defend so many different things. And Brian Westbrook, he's the guy that you bring in to do some of the specialty plays, and you see the distribution right there. They get everybody involved in this passing attack, and it does put a lot of pressure on the defense.
Running backs have caught 10 of the passes. First down on the Falcon 44. Staley. And dragged down just inside the 40, picking up 5 yards. And this is a good ball control possession for the Philadelphia Eagles, who are looking for at least 3 points that would raise their lead to 10, and forcing the Falcons to need 2 scores to pull this one out. Second down and 5 at the 39.
Where you going?
And Thomason, the tight end, in motion. And this pass caught by Pinkston. And let's see if he gets the first down. Try to keep his balance before hitting the sticks. And it'll be close, and he appears to be about a yard or so short.
What a great catch by Todd Pinkston. Donovan McNabb finds him late, puts a lot of zip on that ball. It's on the back shoulder. He does a great job of getting around to catch that. You see Matt Stewart sliding in with the tackle over on the sideline, but great concentration and a great effort to go and pull that one off the back shoulder.
Well, third down and 1 in a terrific exhibition of ball control for the Eagles, using up the time. Over 5 minutes of elapsed time on this drive, and here is McNabb needing 1 yard, and this pass incomplete, and a terrific play by Ashley Ambrose on Todd Pinkston, knocking the ball away. So it's 4th and 1, and McNabb looking to the sidelines. And what does Andy Reid do here?
Well, Andy Reid plays field position, and right now you can see David Akers right there. And I don't know if he's 100%. I don't know how he feels.
It would be a long field goal into the win anyway. I don't think that's the option for him. I think he goes for it, and that appears to be the call for Andy Reid. 4th down and 1 at the 35. Now Akers ready to come on if they decide, and the timeout by the Eagles, their first of the second half, to discuss the situation. Followed Following the Eagles' timeout, they appear to be going for the 4th down and 1. Keep in mind, though, they may try the hard count to induce the Falcons to go offside and get the first down. David Akers over on the sideline. Not a good percentage in any event to try a field goal against the wind, which would be about a 52-yard attempt. So the 4th down play, and they're going to run it. And here's Donovan McNabb's pass, and it's caught. Flag down. James Thrash running into the end zone. Touchdown. James Thrash caught it, and no one near him, and a 35-yard touchdown pass.
Defense number 22 is declined.
Our first offensive touchdown of the game. Gerald McBurrows holding on the play, so a 35-yard touchdown pass will go.
What a great block by Deuce Staley to seal the corner. Andy Reid goes for it on 4th down and 1. And they hit it big for a touchdown. I tell you, it goes against everything he has done this evening. He's been playing field position. He takes a shot. Look at the block by Deuce Staley to get Donovan on the corner.
Akers' extra point is good. And so a huge possession. The ball control resulting in a touchdown for the Eagles, who lead the Falcons 20-6.
The NFC Divisional Playoffs on Fox are brought to you by UPS. What can Brown do for you?
Back here at Veterans Stadium, and this crowd cheering as the Eagles have opened up a 20-6 lead. James Thrash, who has been Donovan McNabb's favorite receiver, has only caught 2 today, but they were for 42 and 35 yards, the last for the touchdown. As you saw the scoring drive, 10 plays, 75 yards, and a 20-6 lead, putting the Falcons in a big hole, and Allen Rossum returning Akers' kick to the 31-yard line. And with 6:20 to go, the Falcons really have to unleash all their weapons to try to get back into this game. There's Brad Childress, the Philadelphia Eagles coach, the offensive coordinator, and the burden now is on the shoulders of Mike Vick, who has completed 17 of 30 for 124 yards, 1 critical interception, and his first pass, and diving is Brian Finneran, and he makes the reception on the Eagle 40-yard line. So the Atlanta Falcons come right back with a 29-yard play on 1st down.
He has such an effortless throwing motion. I mean, there's nothing to that. That ball comes in like a laser. He fit it into a tight spot. I tell you what, this guy is unflappable, and I think what's going to pay off right now is the game earlier in the season against the Pittsburgh Steelers. They were down 17 in the 4th quarter. He knows he can engineer a comeback. He starts off with a great pass on that 1st down.
Darren Chiaverini into the game for the first time, replacing Finneran, lining up to the right. And here is Vick getting away from Kalu, and open is Warwick Dunn. Dunn inside the 30-yard line, trying to wend his way for more yardage, and gets to the 21. So a 20-yard pickup. Again, let's look at Mike Vick. And the goal that Jim Johnson said, if we can hold Mike Vick to 120 passing yards, 34 rushing yards, we should win. Well, he has exceeded the passing yards, and right now, Jim Johnson's team has not allowed a touchdown. Falcons have not gotten into the end zone. 1st and 10 at the 21. Under 5 minutes remaining in the 4th quarter. And the option play to Warwick Dunn, not very fluid, and as a result, a loss of 1 on the play. Barry Gardner shadowing Dunn all the way to make the tackle.
Mike Vick looks a little bit rusty on those option plays. We saw one a little bit earlier. We didn't push it to the guy on the end of the line to force him into a decision. That one, he got a little bit confused.
No, I thought that maybe they ought to try the single wing. I mean, what better player to run a single wing who could pass and run than Mike Vick?
Well, there's a lot of people that say he's the fastest, most talented guy on the field, regardless of who you're playing.
2nd and 10, and the Eagles know that it's an empty backfield, and here they come. And the linebackers come storming in, and it was Sean Barber trying to get to Mike Vick. The pass is incomplete. And it'll be third down.
Well, this is what Jim Johnson's defense is all about. They'll let you into the red zone area, but the one thing that they do not do is give up touchdowns. They take a lot of pride in forcing you to kick field goals. Scoring defense and creating turnovers, the two most important things to Jim Johnson.
It's all he cares about. Takeaways and don't get in the end zone. Forget about the other stats. Third down and 11. And here is Vick. Swings it out, and Warrickton unable to make the play. And fourth down coming up, and the Atlanta Falcons trailing 20-6 with 4:38 to go. Will have to go for it. They need 11 yards, and their fourth down play coming up.
This is an area that they have struggled in the last few weeks of the season. They did a good job against Green Bay last week, but they continue to struggle in the red zone again this evening.
The Falcons have to get the ball to the Eagle 11. And here is Dunn, and the pass caught by Finneran. They're not going to make it. Finneran stopped by Al Harris, and the Eagles will take over on downs with 4:32 to go in the fourth quarter. And you might say the Philadelphia Eagle lead appears to be in solid shape right now.
Well, when you get into a 4th and 11 situation, it's going to be very difficult to get the yardage because Jim Johnson is going to bring all the pressure he can, force the quarterback to throw the ball hot, short of the sticks, and make the receiver run with the ball after the catch to convert that first down.
Coming up after the game, except for those of you on the West Coast, stay tuned for your late local news and Mad TV. Eagles leading 20-6. And after losing the time of possession battle in the first half, controlling the ball, and that's what they are going to do right here. The Falcons going to be forced to use timeouts on the defensive side, but trailing 20-6.
Well, going into that last drive, they were still behind in the second half. That last touchdown drive, their most effective offensive output of this second half.
Here's Deuce Staley. And Staley getting out to the 20-yard line, picking up 3 yards. And the Falcons do not stop the clock. And now they do, so they let it about 12 seconds tick off before calling their first timeout. Well, Dan Reeves coming into this game, winningest active playoff coach with 11 victories in the playoffs. And what a job he's done. He's blessed, of course, with Mike Vick as his quarterback. 3 losing seasons in a row, turned around this year by the Falcons, who were in the Super Bowl before those 3 losing seasons. And that was a surprise campaign for them. But I think the Atlanta Falcons, who may see their playoff trail come to an end in this game, Moose, have a lot to look forward to with a quarterback who's got to be right at the top for most exciting in the league.
Oh, absolutely, and you can't take away from anything that the Falcons have accomplished this season. And if this game finishes the way that it is right now, it's still a great year for the Atlanta Falcons, especially after what they did last week. I don't think anybody gave them any chance of beating the Green Bay Packers at Lambeau. They found themselves coming into Vet with nothing to lose, but just had made too many mistakes this evening.
And the pitch to Staley off the right side. Deuce Staley trying to get first down yardage, and may have it.
But more important, staying in bounds and keeping that clock rolling.
Deuce Staley with tremendous second efforts tonight in many plays. His numbers are not glittering by any stretch, 36 yards rushing. And the Falcons calling their second timeout. Well, when Donovan McNabb broke his ankle in Week 11, the Eagles were faced with a crisis that some teams would have been blown apart after such a loss. Instead, the Eagles came together during a critical 7-day period. First of all, they began by choosing to be introduced as a team for the rest of the season as a sign of solidarity. And everything started well. Backup quarterback Coy Detmer threw 2 touchdown passes against the 49ers. But when he went down, the team was forced to rally even closer. Following week, they faced Kurt Warner, 2-time NFL MVP in the Rams, with third-string quarterback A.J. Feely won the game in true team fashion as defense scored the game's only touchdown. And you know, Darryl, that said so much about Andy Reid when that team, when you lose a Donovan McNabb, remember at the time people said this is a one-man team going to the second string, then the third stringer, and going 5-1 the rest of the way.
And he was the one guy who was the steadying influence during that period. And the one thing he said about his football team is they just never dropped their level of play. He didn't believe that they raised it, but everybody joined together to prove to everybody that they were not a one-man team.
First down on that last play, and Deuce Staley. And there you're looking at the owner of the Atlanta Falcons, Arthur Blank, who has to be very disappointed. But, you know, when you look at a team that had 3 losing seasons and you come here, you beat the Green Bay Packers, become the first team ever to win in Lambeau in the playoffs, coming against the number 1 seeded team. I think he's got to be very happy, and you can see that he is. The newest owner in the National Football League, Arthur Blank.
And you can see he goes over to see how Jerome Bolden is doing right there. So not only a guy who's got the entire city excited about everything that the Atlanta Falcons are doing, but cares about his team.
How about Donovan McNabb with a rating of 103 in this game?
Yeah, and he was supposed to be rusty coming into this football game. So it was just amazing the way he got off to the start. And you know, I agreed with what Wade Phillips was going to do at the beginning of the football game. Let's see how mobile he is. Let's see how that leg feels. And I tell you, maybe more important than him getting off to a good start throwing the football was that big scramble off the goal line that kind of showed everybody, hey, he's back. We don't have anything to worry about this evening.
And I think he showed a lot of people what he was in that Arizona game when he played the entire game with a fractured ankle, stayed in the pocket, and riddled the Arizona Cardinals. Under 4 minutes remaining in the game, and Deuce Staley reversing direction. And Staley's going to get another first down. Deuce Staley picking up 8 yards and eating up a lot of time.
Well, I'm going to disagree with Keith Brooking. This is the guy that I'd be worried about if I was playing the Philadelphia Eagles. To me, he is just unbelievable. He never gives up on a play. He finishes his runs. I mean, he made that all on his own. And some of the games where the Philadelphia Eagles have had great days running the football, a lot of those yards come by Deuce Staley breaking tackles and extending runs down the field.
Andy Reid is blessed by a terrific defense. And remember, this offense scored more points than any team in Eagle history, of 417 this year. So that's pretty good balance. And then you add on to the special teams, thus the number 1 seed. Eagle gave up only 3 points against Dallas in Week 16, lost to the Giants in overtime, but allowed only 10 points in that game, and holding the Atlanta Falcons without a touchdown tonight.
They are probably one of the more complete teams in the NFL throughout the season and now into the playoffs. It's really hard to find a weakness in this group, but very efficient offensively, a very intimidating defense with their style of play, and John Harbaugh has done a great job of elevating the Eagles special teams into some of the top units in the NFL.
Falcons cannot stop the clock, and a steady diet of Deuce Staley. And this will get us down to the 2-minute warning. Well, the Philadelphia Eagles on the brink of advancing to their 3rd NFC Championship game and still trying to erase the bad taste of last year's 5-point loss to the St. Louis Rams. 2 minutes remaining. We'll be back. Minutes remaining, and the security is in force here as let's take you back to the big plays of the game. Bobby Taylor's 39-yard return of an interception from Mike Vick gave the Eagles a 7-0 lead. And then Donovan McNabb and James Thrash, and no one to beat down the middle for a 35-yard score. And now the motorcycles and the horses coming on for security, and it brings back memories of this very stadium of the Philadelphia Phillies in the 1980 World Series when they beat the Kansas City Royals, and the horses came on for security purpose there. Well, why not? There's going to be another game at venerable Veterans Stadium. This place will close down after next week's game. Deuce Staley with a gain of a yard, and now it's just a matter of time. Well, how much do statistics mean? And what is the most important one of all, Moose? The final score, right?
It only matters about points, and the big difference, one turnover for the Falcons, and the Philadelphia Eagles get 7 points off that turnover. But, yeah, it's all about scoring, and we talked about Jim Johnson and his belief on the defensive side of the ball. You want to come down into the red zone, if I hold you to field goals, I feel pretty good with our offensive group and our special teams that we're going to be able to win the football game.
Falcons won the battle of the numbers, except the one at the top of your screen, 20-6. And the Eagles call a timeout. 1:14 remaining. Well, the fans have a lot to cheer about, but they're not going to get on the field, that's for sure, after this game, after what we've seen. And there is Jeffrey Lurie, the owner of the Philadelphia Eagles, who made the decision to hire Andy Reid as head coach. And we want to thank some people who have done a terrific job all season long. Game produced by Bob Stenner, directed by Sandy Grossman, as we mentioned. The associate director, Charles McDonald. The broadcast associates, Wayne Wilson and Robert Slosby. Technical producer, Bob Mueller. Pre-game show produced by Scott Ackerson and directed by Bob Levy. Lee Johnson with his punt. And Alan Rossum at the 11-yard line. Trying to break one. He did at the beginning of the game, but it was called back, and he's down at the 30. Studio technical supervisor, Jack Simmons. The senior producer is Bill Brown. The executive producers of Fox Sports are Ed Gorin and David Hill. And we'd also like to thank our stats crew, Chris Visser, Rick Odioso, Wade Junko, and Mike Eldridge, and all the technical crew with a job well done. And it all continues tomorrow on Fox at noon Eastern as the San Francisco 49ers face the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And the winner of that game will face the Philadelphia Eagles in the NFC Championship game a week from tomorrow. First down at the 30 for Mike Vick. And we'll have a false start penalty. Well, I'll tell you what, Mike Vick certainly established himself
5 yards, still first down.
as a quarterback that a lot of teams are going to have problems matching up with.
Well, one of the best defensive coordinators in the NFL, Jim Johnson, and his style and his approach to how he plays defense, and for him to be concerned about this guy as much as he was when we talked to him during the course of the week, and it's only going to become more difficult for coordinators around the NFL as he becomes able to attain more and more of the offensive package that the Falcons want to do.
First down and 15, and Vick, with time, completes it to Trevor Gaylor, and Gaylor fumbles the ball, loose ball at the 40, and recovered by Atlanta. Well, in talking with Dan Reeves has been around. He has coached John Elway. He's been a veteran of 24 years as a coach. He says that Mike Vick is the most down-to-earth 22-year-old he has ever met in his life. High praise coming from Dan Reeves. Second down and 1, under a half a minute to go. And Finneran flips it to Crumpler, and a flag is down with 18 seconds on the clock. Well, Darryl, you've been here before. You've been in the playoffs. You win a game, you know it's in the bag, and now you're within one game of the Super Bowl. The feeling knowing you have one game and then you get to the big one.
Well, you got a lot more work to do.
Face mask, number 53 of the defense. 15 yards from the end of the run, automatic. First down.
Because not only do you have one more game to play next week for the conference championship, but then you've also got to go win that Super Bowl game if you are fortunate to go there. And that's one thing you can't lose sight of. Sometimes you worry that guys, when we were with the Dallas Cowboys and had a chance to go, that, our work's not done. We've made it to the Super Bowl, but we still have to play that game. And it's so exciting right now. All that hard work that started back in the offseason with your strength training and conditioning through the rigors of training camp and a long 16-week season, and you're right on the doorstep.
Face mask penalty called against Hugh Douglas. And this pass is intercepted. What a fitting ending to this game. Brian Dawkins with the interception. So the game, big play starting with Bobby Taylor's interception for a touchdown, and Brian Dawkins putting the cap on this one with an interception. And there you see the Falcons and the Eagles. There was Andy Reid talking with Warwick Dunn, who very nearly, as you pointed out, signed with the Eagles as a free agent. 9 seconds remaining in the game, and there'll be other days for Mike Vick. But for the Philadelphia Eagles and Donovan McNabb, who answered all of the questions early on in this game, Darryl.
He really did. By the way, he came out and played in the first quarter. He silenced any concerns that the Eagles would have about how he was going to play, and just absolutely incredible to me. And really, just to have him on the football field, you knew his presence alone would be an emotional spark. But for him to come out and play the way that he did in that opening quarter and just control the game and make the throws and be able to do everything that he had done before the injury, just like Andy Reid said, I'm not changing my game plan. He'll be able to execute anything I call.
And the Eagles have had a great knack of not suffering back-to-back losses. Their last game was the defeat to the Giants, last game of the regular season in overtime, and they come back and win this game. They have not lost back-to-back games since early last year and have won now, and there'll be one more game at Veterans Stadium. One more Eagle game, and the final score 20-6 as we send it down to Ron Pitts.
All right, Donovan, there was a lot of talk about your ankle and where it was at. 20 of 30 tonight, a 103 quarterback rating, man. Obviously, you answered the questions, and you ran for 25 yards.
Well, I'm still a little rusty according to everybody else. But you know what? I just came out here, wanted to calm myself down and just, play football again. And, everyone talked about the mobility. Everyone talked about Russ. I just want to get back to playing football. And I think our team came out here and fought through it. It's a tough Atlanta team. They just kept fighting. But we just a little determined right now. And we got a goal that we set early in the offseason, and we're not finished yet.
Was there some soreness in that ankle? Did it start to bother you at all?
Not at all. Get on the sideline, you want to continue to warm it up. With weather like this, you just want to continue to keep your body loose, and every time you step out there, just try to make something happen.
All right, Donovan, good luck next week NFC Championship game.
Thank you.
All right, Dick Stockton, back up to you.
All right, Ron. Well, Donovan McNabb played host to Mike Vick when he was recruiting him to Syracuse University, and tonight he was the mentor to young Mike Vick as the Eagles advance, beating the Falcons 20-6. We'll be right back.
Welcome to the Subway Postgame Show, brought to you by Subway, bringing you the freshest news on the playoffs and the freshest sandwiches around. Subway, eat fresh.
Here's the UPS leaderboard delivering today's leaders as the Eagles advance, winning by a score of 20-6. Donovan McNabb, a brilliant game, who had not played in 8 weeks with a fractured ankle. Deuce Staley with 102 total yards came on strong in the second half. James Thrash only caught 2, but they were 2 big plays, including a touchdown that put the game away. So this is Dick Stockton for Darryl Johnston and Ron Pitts saying so long from Veterans Stadium. Final score, the Eagles defeat the Falcons by a score of 20-6. JB and the guys are up next in the Fox NFL studio as the Subway postgame show continues.
So for the 15th consecutive year, the NFC's number 1 seed advances to the NFC Championship game as we welcome you back inside of Studio 2A and the Subway post-game show. Any concerns about Donovan McNabb, all that Rain Man expressed at the top of the show, they've been put to rest.
JB, congratulations to Andy Reid, Coach of the Year. He's made all the right moves this year. He's pushed all the right buttons. You know, when people question whether or not McNabb would be rusty or not, like such as Terry, you know, Andy said he'd be ready to play.
You know what? You're right, Howard. You're right. Who did question Reid's move?
I don't want to pull a Joe Velocci here and drop a dime on my boy over here because this side of the table always sticks together. But my man did say something about rust and not playing for over 2 months. It was maybe they're rusty early.
The point is, he did say something, and that to me is that says a lot.
Howard, you would expect
say
that.
something.
And
He's not on that fence.
Balance.
He said
NFC
something.
Championship game in Philadelphia next week.
There you go. Philadelphia will now get an opportunity to redeem itself, having lost to the St. Louis Rams last year in the NFC's title game. They get a chance to win the winner of the 49ers at the Bucs. Two teams that Philadelphia has already beaten this season. But we will see you tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. Pacific, 12 noon Eastern. These guys will still be arguing about who said what on tape. We'll see you tomorrow.
Do you think
Hey, wear the
McNabb
suit.
was
Absolutely.
Fox Sports thanks you for watching this presentation of the National Football League. The NFL is online at www.nfl.com.